Let's get peppy. Welcome to PEP 261. That's Planet Extra podcast. I am Chaz Dalloway, host of Planet America on ABC Australia, and this is an official podcast of the ABC. So say hi to the ombudsman for me. On PEP, we cover all the stuff that's too nerdy for TV. If you're listening, you can find us on YouTube and Facebook at Planet PEP, and you can find highlights there too as well. You also find timestamps and show notes in our blurbs, and if you leave a comment under our current episode video, we are likely to see it. And don't forget to subscribe for that peppy goodness. It all helps. You can also tweet us or blue sky us at PEPCHASDRDAVE. That's at PepChaz Dr. Dave. If you want to chat to some fellow peppers, you can join our Discord server. It's on the screen right now or in the blurb of the podcast. But if you want to contact me or Lockie the Lucky privately, why not email us? The address is producer@pepthepodcast.com. The address again is producer@pepthepodcast.com. And I am replying to them as well every now and then. Your reply is on its way. We're recording this at 2:19 p.m. on Friday the 15th of May or 12:19 a.m. on Friday morning East Coast time in America. But for now, let's turn to the man who simply will not raise the stakes on inconsequential views. I speak, of course, of Dr. Pepper himself, Dr. David Smith.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm David Smith. I'm an associate professor at the US Studies Centre at the University of Sydney, but I don't speak for either of those institutions, especially if I happen to say anything about the global crisis that engulfed our learning management software this week.
Really?
9,000 universities were affected by this software, which I won't name.
Is this like a material that you might find on a tent?
I refuse to validate or invalidate that.
I read about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's said to have been a ransomware attack. But anyway,
Said to be paid off.
it's back now.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe the real ransomware was the friends we made along the way. Anyway, if I happen to say anything about that, I'm definitely not speaking for either of those institutions.
Sure. Dave, what are you grateful for other than software that works?
I'm grateful for the fact that the proposed Gold Coast Trump Tower, which would have loomed over surfers' paradise, 340 metres in height, the tallest building in Australia, 91 stories, cost of $1.5 billion, marketed as a 6-star resort, but undoubtedly would have been as crappy as any other American hotel chain, is not going to be built.
Why not?
Well, now when I say I'm grateful, I'm not saying I'm surprised.
I thought you were saying you don't want unemployed people.
Let's look at this.
Yep.
Trump family on the one hand.
Yep.
Gold Coast property developer on the other hand,
Sure.
announced something incredibly big and stupid and expensive.
Yes.
Now, the fact that we find out a few months later it's not actually happening,
Was Clive Palmer ever involved?
as we would say in the social sciences, that's an overdetermined outcome. Clive Palmer was not involved.
Okay.
Clive Palmer actually might have added a touch of class to this one. I mean, let's have a look at the AI rendition of what this was supposed to look like.
Oh,
This was supposed to look like. First of all,
Oh, beautiful.
Trump must have set some record for the number of purely AI buildings built at this point. But look at that. Look at how happy those extremely unnatural people look. So that's what it was supposed to.
How many stories was that meant to be?
It was supposed to be 91.
It looks like a very small base for 91 stories.
Yeah, and look how close the sea is to the entrance of the hotel.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
looks like it's a real collapsing threat.
Yes.
Yeah. On sand. It's built on sand, Dave.
Anyway, so it's an just unmistakably Trump image. You would recognise that as Trump even if the word Trump wasn't plastered across it. But okay, so this is not going to be built.
Not
Now-
by Trump, not by the three pigs.
Well, there are conflicting accounts of why this is not happening.
Oh, yeah?
So David Young, who's the property developer, the sole director of a company called Altus,
Altus.
he tried to get ahead of the story this week by telling the ABC that because of the Iran war, the Trump brand has become a bit too toxic.
Oh, it was right at the top of all the brands in Australia until then. I believe Australia is the country where he was the least popular.
It was.
It was right up there.
It was the country where he was the least popular. Now, I'll come back to this point, though, because the Trump Organization says something different.
Oh, okay.
The Trump Organization says that Altus couldn't fulfill its most basic financial obligations. And it appears to be the Trump Organization that first pulled the plans, so to speak, from its website after Eric Trump had been promoting them back in February. This is possibly the only time that I've ever looked at this situation of Trump Organization says one thing, someone else says something else, and thought it's probably the Trump Organization that's telling the closest thing to the truth here, because the ABC, Australian ABC, did a couple of weeks ago reveal that David Young he's gone bankrupt twice, and not very long ago he had some development that fell through that left people $27 million out of pocket.
That's chump change for the Trumps.
Well, yeah, but so this does seem to be a fairly straightforward story of Trump simpleton gets scammed by a Gold Coast property developer. Now, in terms of his story about the Trump brand getting too toxic, you make this very good point that, yes, it was toxic a long time before that, but also for something to be too toxic for a Gold Coast property developer, that's got to be like Fukushima levels of toxicity.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, this is Surfer's Paradise. Now, whatever its other qualities, Surfer's Paradise is not renowned as a mecca of good taste.
No.
This is a place that still has meter maids. For those of you who don't know what meter maids are because you live somewhere in the 21st century, these are women who are paid by the Surfer's Paradise Chamber of Commerce to roam the streets in bikinis, topping up people's parking meters as a way of promoting tourism. Amazingly, this is not an idea that originated in Florida. This is a Gold Coast original. This was inaugurated in 1965. And by the late 90s, a lot of people were complaining that this was embarrassing and anachronistic and sexist. So what Surfer's Paradise did was the sort of classic response to this was say, but we could make this less sexist if we get men to do the same thing. So they started employing meter boys. And do you know who the face of this movement for gender equality was?
I've never heard of this movement, so no.
Warwick Capper.
Warwick Capper.
Warwick Capper was a Surfer's Paradise meter boy.
Meter boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm really not sure that this was too toxic for Surfer's Paradise.
So they're going around I'm just trying to wrap my head around this.
They're
going around putting coins in the parking meters.
Topping up people's parking meters who are just about to expire and leaving a note behind.
Who's paying for that?
I assume it's the Surfer's Paradise Chamber of Commerce.
Well, why don't they take the parking meters off?
But
it seems very inefficient to have parking meters.
Excellent point.
That charges money and then you fill them up.
They could be scummy enough that they're just getting the meter maids to pay for it themselves. I don't know. But this is a place, not Surfer's Paradise specifically, but the Gold Coast General.
Yeah.
They're on their fourth attempt at an NRL team at this point.
The Gold Coast has been a black hole for sport.
After the failure of the Chargers, Seagulls. No, sorry, the Giants were the first one. Giants, Seagulls, Chargers. Now we're on to the Titans. Now, the Titans, to their credit, have lasted for nearly 20 years. But after all that time, their highest profile celebrity fan is still Bernard Tomic.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the place that named their AFL team the Suns.
Yes.
The laziest, most generic warm weather name. Look, as our friend Bill Wyman can tell us, when you are copying Phoenix, Arizona for any reason, you've taken a wrong turn.
I feel like you're thrashing wildly now, Dave. I mean, I'm not saying because I'm an AFL guy, but just the Sun seems quite unobjectionable.
It would be an unobjectionable name for the Sunshine Coast.
Okay.
For the Gold Coast, they should have named it something that reflected the local culture, like the Gold Diggers.
Can I just ask, I'm having trouble getting past these meter maids. Did this happen in any other place other than the Gold Coast?
Look, as I said, when I looked this up...
Because I remember the term meter maids when I was a kid. And it wasn't chicks in bikinis doing that.
I was expecting to find some instance of it somewhere else, but I could not. As far as I can see, this is unique to Surfers Paradise.
Wow.
If anybody has got any more information about this, as always, we would welcome that on PEP. But anyway,
Gold Coast.
Surfers Paradise.
Surfers Paradise.
There's there's room for meter maids.
That's them.
That's them.
That's the maids and the boys.
And the meter boys.
Yeah.
That guy's looking a little bit healthier than Warwick Capper was looking, I think, at the time that he did it.
Man, these meter boys, they skip leg day, don't they? They're like triangles. They're like Mr. Was it Mr. Rush? The Mr. Man who's a triangle? I think it's Mr. Rush. It's like a Dorito.
Anyway, sorry. In case you've lost the thread of this grateful, because I've got to admit I almost have. We're not grateful for the meter boys.
No, it's Trump.
We're grateful for the fact that Trump Tower is not being built there.
Fair enough. Okay. We should
really would have brought the tone of the place down.
Yes. Okay, well, I'm grateful to, thankfully my one's a bit shorter. I'm grateful to one of the Peppers from the Discord. Now, the Peppers have had a great few weeks, Dave. First, they found, one of the Peppers found the only known movie on Earth where the phrase to 86 someone is used to mean to kill them.
Really?
A Pepper found that.
Wow.
Which was the 1986 version of Little Shop of Horrors. and when Comey rots in jail, I'm sure he'll be grateful for that. Then after that, last PEP, I expressed a morbid interest in the jingle from the 1967 referendum, which allowed Indigenous Australians to be counted in population counts for electoral purposes only.
Yes.
And also for the federal government to pass laws that affect them rather than just state governments.
Yep.
An inconsequential view from the Discord came to the party. Hit it, Lockie.
Vote yes for Aborigines, they want to be Australians too. Vote yes and give them rights and freedoms just like me and you. Vote yes for Aborigines.
Brilliant. How is that not a hit? It's brilliant. It was a misleading jingle though. Like I said last week, vote to give them rights and freedoms, they say. Like having the federal government pass laws controlling you. Whatever. But yeah. Anyway, that was the jingle. Thank you very much, Inconsequential View. And Dave, our Discord friend, bore gifts for not just me, but for you.
Oh, really?
Yes, because you might recall you were telling us about the New Hampshire school kids trying to make the red-tailed hawk the state raptor.
Yes.
And it didn't quite work out for them.
No.
Well, Inconsequential View has what you're looking for as well.
Oh.
So the 8 kids from the class went to the legislature in New Hampshire, and we have some audio of what happened in the House debate. Let's take a listen to a few clips. The first here is Christy Bartlett.
We already have a state bird, but now do we need a state raptor? Isn't that a bird?
Ms. Bartlett said there are just too many bills like this, that it's distracting the legislature from more important issues, and that view was picked up by another representative named John Burt.
If we keep bringing more of these bills and bills and bills forward that really I feel we shouldn't have in front of us, we'll be picking a state hot dog next.
State hot dog, okay. And then there was Warren Groen, who tried to draw a link between this discussion about the hawk and his staunch opposition to abortion. And he said on the floor he has been studying how the red-tailed hawk operates.
And it mostly likes field mice and small rodents, but it grasps them with its talons and then uses its razor-sharp beak to rip its victim to shreds. Tear it apart limb by limb. And I guess the shame about making this a state bird is it would serve as a much better mascot for Planned Parenthood.
It's the New England accent that really makes that audio.
Yeah. Well, the guy before shouldn't. That was interesting.
I liked his state hot dog line.
Yeah, sure.
Very good. But at the same time, this is a legislature with over 400 people in it. Like, what are you there for if not to just dissect absolutely minute stuff in extreme detail?
Well, to be a smart ass to 8-year-olds
yes!
who are in the audience. That's what you're there to for.
Own those 8-year-olds.
Anyway, thank you very much, Inconsequential View. I am grateful.
Me too.
Couple of updates for you, Dave, which you may or may not want to participate in. Last week, we heard that in the reconciliation bill, Senate Republicans were whipping up to pay for ICE and Border Patrol. They threw into that bill $1 billion for security upgrades that seemed to be code for the ballroom. Before you knew it, the phrase $1 billion ballroom entered the political lexicon.
As you predicted.
Yes, I did indeed predict we would hear that endlessly in election campaigns this year, and it's begun already. Trump is already showing a lot of sensitivity to questions about the cost of the ballroom. He's never subtle about this kind of thing.
So what happened is we have a ballroom that's under budget. It's going up right here. I've doubled the size of it because we obviously need that. And we're right now on budget, under budget, and ahead of schedule. I doubled the size of it, you dumb person. Double the size. You are not a smart person.
Tell you what's dumb. What's dumb is making really obvious to everyone when a question has drawn blood. That's dumb.
Yeah, that is.
But anyway, I've actually come to help Trump out here.
Okay.
I'm not burying him. I am helping him. Since he's seemingly incapable of just answering a simple question without insulting reporters.
Even when it's asked in front of a roaring helicopter
Yes,
to give him maximal cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even then he can't do it. I'll do it for him. This week, we found out where that $1 billion was going.
Okay.
And at least according to the administration, it's not going to the ballroom entirely.
Okay.
Axios reported that a Senate Republican lunch featured the White House breaking down what they wanted that $1 billion for.
Okay.
They went through dollar by dollar. This is what they said. $220 million for hardening security at the White House complex.
Yep.
Including bulletproof glass, drone detection technologies, chemical and other threat filtration and detection systems. So that's for the ballroom, clearly. Then $180 million for a new White House visitor security screening facility. Is that for the ballroom? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. They're going to stick that near the ballroom? I don't know. $175 million for Secret Service training in the modern threat environment. That's nothing to do with the ballroom.
No.
$175 million for improving security for Secret Service protectees. That's not for the ballroom. $150 million for the Secret Service's work to counter drones, airspace incursions, unmanned systems, biological threats, and other emerging threats through investments in state-of-the-art technologies. Not for the ballroom.
Doesn't sound like it.
No. $100 million for security at high-profile national events. Could be for the ballroom, but not for the construction of the ballroom, which is what we're talking about. So by my count, there is between $220 million and $400 million in this reconciliation bill going to the ballroom, depending on your definition of for the ballroom. Now, obviously, Trump is still paying something for the ballroom from his donations. We don't know how much that is. What the total cost is, therefore, we don't know.
No.
It could be $1 billion. It could be $2 billion. It could be $500 million. We don't know. It sucks that we don't have those details. We should. And that's one of the biggest problems. We have no idea. But as far as we know so far, the $1 billion ballroom talking point is propaganda, not reality.
It's not going to stop it.
I know. I'm just saying, when you hear it for the next 1,000 times you hear it,
Yeah.
you will know, because you heard on PEP, that we have no evidence that's actually $1 billion ballroom, or even close to $1 billion.
But we do know it's going to look incredibly bad.
Oh, yes, we do know that.
Yeah.
And if we didn't know that, we could have faith it would.
Yes.
So anyway, so that's the first note. Do you have anything to add to that?
No.
An Alito update. This is a pretty funny bit of dodginess, which is hidden in the Supreme Court's Calais ruling last week. This is from The Guardian. They reported this. You might recall some essential background of the Calais ruling was that racism is over.
Yes.
everything's better now. The Voting Rights Act, not necessary anymore. It can cop the bullet.
That's, by the way, what they've been saying since Shelby versus Holder.
2013.
Yeah, where they were saying that, look at these covered districts. There are no longer abuses of the Voting Rights Act happening there.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, John Roberts has been saying that since 1980.
Yes, which, as critics pointed out, is like saying when you're holding up an umbrella, I'm not getting wet. I don't need this umbrella.
When you say critics, you mean like a formal critic, Justice Ginsburg.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't have said critics. I should have said dissenters. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was a great analogy.
Yes.
Now, I'm not sure why it's the Supreme Court's job to make those kinds of calls, that racism is over, but apparently they seem to think it is. And some of the evidence that Justice Alito used to demonstrate that racism is over was supplied by the Department of Justice.
Right.
Alito wrote...
That's dodgy.
You know where this is going.
Yeah.
Alito wrote, and I quote, "Black voters now participate in elections at similar rates as the rest of the electorate, even turning out at higher rates than white voters in 2 of the 5 most recent presidential elections nationwide and in Louisiana." I think I might have quoted that stat actually last week when I talked about this from Alito's ruling.
Yep.
But it turns out there was some funny business there, as you suspected, from the Department of Justice. Normally what you would do when expressing electoral turnout rates is you would express voters as a percentage of the voting age citizen population.
Yes, that's right.
But what they did was express voters as a percentage of the voting age total population. So what that means is they were counting illegal immigrants as being part of the potentially voting population, which is ironic given these guys would move heaven and earth to stop illegal immigrants from voting.
But it makes total sense in that they're also the only people who are adamant that there are millions of illegal immigrants voting.
I thought you'd say that, and I'm ready for that. Because, remember, one of Trump's obsessions is not counting illegal immigrants at all in the census.
Yes.
Like they don't even exist.
Yes.
And yet, here his Department of Justice is using illegal immigrants to juke their voting stats. Anyway, when you calculate the stats properly, like you should,
Yes.
it turns out that black vote turnout in Louisiana only exceeded white voter turnout in the 2012 presidential election. Since then, black voter turnout in Louisiana has fallen further behind white voter turnout every single election, falling further and further behind. And you know what happened after the 2012 election? You've just mentioned it.
Yes.
The Shelbyville ruling, 2013.
Yes, Shelby versus Holder.
Yeah, Shelby. Yeah, sorry. That's just,
Shelbyville is
Simpsons.
the rival town to Springfield.
That's
in the
right.
Simpsons,
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Shelby, yes.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court started monkeying around with the Voting Rights Act directly after 2012.
Yes.
And it had immediate results, and it continues to this day. So the very stats that Alito cited to justify his assumptions prove that his assumptions are wrong when they're calculated correctly. And just to be clear, that's probably not an accident. I'm going to quote Michael McDonald, a University of Florida voter turnout expert. He told The Guardian, "If I wanted to manipulate the numbers in a way that was favourable to the government's interest, I would be using voting age population. They had to fudge how they're calculating the turnout rate to get there, and they're not even taking into account margin of error and all these other methodology issues about the current population survey to arrive at that number. Someone knew what they were doing," he says. Now, that's the kind of thing I would find very frustrating if I thought Alito actually gave us stuff about those stats and that it wasn't just a pretext. But we both know better.
Yes.
So I'm quite serene. But I still want to share the update with you, regardless.
Okay.
And the final update, Dave, you remember TrumpPhones last year?
Oh, yes.
It's great. Great product.
Yeah.
$499 phones.
Yep.
Made in the USA.
Made in the USA.
Even though the only phone to this point in time that's been made entirely in America costs $2,000. They were somehow going to do that at a quarter of the price until the media started asking questions about it. And then they changed their website to say it was proudly American instead of made in the USA.
Yes.
And wait for it, Designed with American values in mind.
Designed with American values in mind.
American values like ripping off your punters.
Wow.
It's kind of the same thing as Made in America, isn't it? Kind of. Anyway, let's look at it. Look at that beautiful shimmering gold. Oh, lovely.
Gold.
I want one. Just like 590,000 people who put down a $100 deposit.
Ooh.
Sadly, Dave, that could be tough for all of us.
Oh, no.
Because a few writers have detailed their experiences buying a Trump phone.
Who let writers buy that phone?
Well,
That's treason.
when I say buy that phone,
Yes.
I'm being quite loose in the term buying. You'll be shocked to hear this, Dave.
Yeah.
They found the process wasn't without snags. Back in June last year, 404 Media pre-ordered the phone, and rather than being charged a $100 deposit for their $499 phone, they were charged $64.70. Hey, saved money. But then the next month, they were also charged $100 and also charged another $64.70. Not a great start, but you know, these phones are gold, Dave. Be reasonable.
Yeah.
404 Media were not reasonable. They called the customer service number to complain. They got nowhere. Although that was better than the Reuters reporter got. They called the same customer care number when they didn't get their phone. And they were greeted with, Omega Auto Care, how can I help you? Omega Auto Care. NBC did have more luck. After multiple calls to the customer care number, they were told in October that the phone would be shipped on November 13.
Okay.
Which is interesting. It was originally supposed to be shipped in August, but let's leave that aside. November 13 comes and goes, and then they ring them back again, and they're told it will ship in early December. On December 31st, a reporter from Fortune magazine, who was also trying to do this, rang them up and was told it would ship in mid to late January. But it had been delayed, apparently, Dave, because of the government shutdown. I don't know how that affects Trump phones, but it does somehow.
Right.
Then in January 2026, a Trump mobile representative told NBC, who was also trying to buy a Trump phone, that the company was in the final stages of certification and field testing and would ship sometime in the first quarter of 2026.
Were there any non-media purchases of this phone? Were all these journalists just planning to interview each other about their Trump phone experiences? Was it going to be like the Melania movie?
I did say there were 590,000 purchases, and that is about the number of online outlets that are reporting on Trump. So maybe you're right, Dave. But now, needless to say, the quarter ended on March 31st and no one had a phone. But then on April 6th, Trump Mobile updated its terms.
Okay.
And you might find these new terms interesting, Dave.
Yep.
The $100 deposit was no longer a deposit. Now...
It was a donation.
No. It's a conditional opportunity.
Conditional opportunity.
If Trump Mobile later elects, in its sole discretion, to offer the device for sale.
Wow.
And even though originally that $100 deposit was for a $499 phone, which ran on a $47 plan, they now said it does not lock in pricing, promotions, service plans, taxes, fees, shipping costs, or other commercial terms. But don't say it's a scam, because you can get a refund if you just call the customer care number. Apparently, when Popular Information tried to call that number just now, they got, because they're also trying to buy a phone, they got a recorded message saying Trump Mobile was closed and to call back Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Obviously, they rang during those hours. And they still got that message. We're now in May, Dave, if you haven't looked at the calendar, approaching 1 year since the phone was launched, and not a single T1 phone has been shipped. But you can still pay $100 for your conditional opportunity if you like this satisfied customer did, Dave.
Hey, Trump supporter here. This goes out to Don Jr. and Eric. Where the fuck's my phones? I ordered 4 gold Trump phones in the summer. Told they're going to be the best. Talked my son into ordering some. We heard they're going to come out in September. Yeah, we can fucking wait. September rolls around. No, it's going to be November. No, it's going to be the end of the year. They actually stopped taking orders for them in November. Now we can't get any fucking updates on them. Now, we got all this fraud going on in Minnesota, and I hope a lot of fucking people go to jail. But 590,000 people buying a phone at $500 or $600 each, add that the fuck up. Just the down payments of $100 is 60 fucking million. Give me my fucking phones or give me my money back.
It turns out, I love his glasses. It turns out that Trump might be able to shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, but you can't deprive them of their gold phones, Dave.
Well, especially not when you've ordered 4 and you've persuaded your son to order some. Yes. And then you've apparently tried to order more because you found out that they're not taking orders anymore.
Yeah.
How many phones does one man need?
Well, at least 4, apparently.
I don't think these are going to be very useful as burner phones.
No, they do stand out a little. Yeah, so I thought you'd be interested in that update, Dave. Do you have anything to add about the Trump phone?
I do not.
No. Look, okay. I should say, by the way, to be fair, this is a Don and Eric scam, not a Trump scam.
That's right.
But this is as good a place as any to drop a beautiful clip, which I've been saving for a few weeks.
Oh, yes. Please do.
This clip here.
I just wish people would appreciate, especially people on the other side of the aisle, how much easier his life would have been if he'd never gotten involved in politics. You know, he's the one president to leave the White House with less money than he went into it with. I mean, he's had zeros off of his net worth come off because he became president, because he ran for president.
That's Lara Trump, for those who are listening.
And Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife.
Was the podcast host, yeah. Now, to be fair, again, according to Forbes, what she said there is actually kind of true for the first term. People might not believe that, but at least according to Forbes, if you look at the graph, his net worth dropped from $4.5 billion in 2015 to just over $2 billion in 2020. That's decidedly not true in his second term.
Yeah. Also, she said zeros were coming off his net worth.
That's obviously ridiculous. But Forbes' estimate of his net worth in the last 2 years has increased from $2.3 billion to $6.5 billion.
Yes.
So she's not quite right about him losing money as president. He's tripled his money in 2 years.
Yes. Yeah. Although a lot of that money is not exactly real.
That is fair. Although I think they've been quite conservative on their
Yeah. I mean, he did make a lot of actual money out of transaction fees for fake money.
Totally.
Which is the most typical kind of Trump thing you can imagine. They did do a lot of that.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. And now they're about to do more, Dave, in China.
Yes.
Because I think both Don and Eric, or just Eric heading to China?
I am not sure about Don. Eric is definitely there.
Eric is. Now, I know that.
God, you're a brave man to take Eric on an international trip.
Well,
fresh off his triumph on the Gold Coast.
I thought you weren't blaming him. It is interesting, the Eric thing, given just how much mileage Trump got out of Hunter going to China with Joe Biden. I would never accuse him of hypocrisy, but it does seem to ring some bells to me. But it's not just Eric, of course. It's a dozen of his favourite CEOs.
Yeah. No, it's more than that.
More than that?
Yeah, look.
Tell us all about Dave.
By the way, okay, this meeting is happening literally as we are recording.
Yeah.
Okay, so by the time you hear this podcast, you will have heard much, much more detailed readouts of everything that was going on. Maybe something will have been negotiated. Don't know. At the moment, they're still very much in the kinds of preliminaries. But I just wanted to present the side-by-side contrast of the opening remarks of both speakers.
Okay.
So on the one hand, we have got Xi Jinping saying, as the once-in-a-century transformation accelerates and the international landscape undergoes change and turmoil, the world has reached a new crossroads, she said. Can China and the United States overcome the Thucydides trap and establish a new paradigm for relations between great powers?
Wow.
So Graham Allison, who's a Harvard International Relations professor, who wrote a book. It wasn't called The Thucydides Trap, but this was the book that popularized the term Thucydides Trap, which, by the way, many people do not agree with. So this is the idea that US-China conflict is inevitable because China is a rising power and the United States is a ruling power. And in Graham Allison's interpretation, which many classic scholars disagree with, that's supposedly the cause of the Peloponnesian War. There's another debate about whether we should be using the Peloponnesian War as our model for international relations, 2,500 years on. But look, I've said enough about the Peloponnesian War this year. But anyway, the point is, Xi Jinping, that's what he's saying is his opening statement.
But didn't Trump talk about the Thucydides Trap?
Here's what Trump said. We have the greatest business and biggest, I guess, best in the world. Amazing people, and they're all with me, Trump says. We asked the top 30 in the world. Every single one of them said yes, and I didn't want the second or third in the company. I wanted only the top, and they're here today to pay respects to you, China.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's profound.
So he's saying 30. Now, Trump has a fairly imprecise relation with numbers, so maybe it is only 12. But, they're here to pay respect to you, China. He got more fawning than that.
Did he stop referring to Xi as China?
He was talking about what a great leader she was. And he had this quite almost kind of emotional moment. Like, I say you're a great leader. People don't like it when I say that, but you're a great leader. Yeah, this is real, like, dog rolling over. Let me show you the pinkest part of my tummy.
You're not optimistic about where this is going, though.
I'm not optimistic.
Okay.
I mean, canine dominance rituals are one thing, but international relations negotiations are another thing. Now, I was encouraged to see that apparently last night Scott Bessent and his crew were talking to Chinese officials in South Korea late into the night. But usually these kinds of talks require a lot more preparation than that.
Well, usually.
Usually, yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's an iron law or anything, but generally the bigger the agreement, the longer the preparation has gone for, just generally.
I see. I would have thought that originally when they planned this meeting, because they've pushed it back because of the Iran
They
war.
did, yes.
Originally it was scheduled to be basically exactly a year after the tariffs.
Yes.
Yeah? After,
Yep.
Sorry, what was it called? Freedom Day or whatever it was called? I thought
Liberation Day, yes.
Liberation Day.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly a year after. So I would have assumed that the reason they originally scheduled this meeting was to announce some grand trade bargain of some kind.
Trump kept using the term grand bargain.
Oh, there you go.
He loves this term.
Yeah.
Right? And he's never come close to achieving a grand bargain on anything with anyone. This is much like back in, was it 2018 or 2019, talking about getting a comprehensive nuclear agreement with Kim Jong-il, which was literally one piece of paper that had some writing on it that didn't even cover the whole page.
So it was more comprehensible rather than comprehensive.
Yes.
Sure.
And that might have been one of the documents that ended up in Mar-a-Lago. I'm not sure. Yeah, but anyway, whatever it wasn't a comprehensive agreement. There will be no grand bargain from this.
But having said that,
yeah,
while that might have been the original plan, I imagine what would be happening now would be Trump trying to find a way to get Xi to finish off his war for him.
Well, yes. This is what everybody is talking about. And I said before that I thought that the most likely diplomatic end to this war ran through Beijing. So it was Xi who managed to get Iran to the negotiating table a few weeks ago. It seems likely, given the kind of political and military and economic leverage that China has with Iran, that would be the best bet for getting Iran to the table. Now, it's been widely pointed out that China hasn't proven to be a particularly good ally of Iran in this war.
No.
Given the way that the partnership often gets described, China hasn't really done anything for Iran. I mean, they kept buying Iranian oil while it was still available, as they were before the war.
Yep.
There has been some talk about Chinese weapons going to Iran as they were before the war.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not what you would call ally behavior, not that it is a formal alliance of any kind. China has basically been staying high and dry, throughout this. But nonetheless, it is widely believed that probably only China would actually have the leverage to bring Iran to the table if Iran is not planning to go there itself. Yes. So that might be what Trump is looking for. Now, there's some analysis that suggests China is doing very well out of this war. That because they are so far very well insulated, obviously there is a problem with their oil supply at the moment, but because of the steps that they took years ago to plan for some kind of external disruption.
They have a lot of storage.
Yeah, that they're actually weathering this quite well, and they are quite happy to watch the US just deplete its supplies of various weapons. Yeah, so that's one read on it, that Xi Jinping won't have any particular interest in ending this war quickly. Another reading is, no, he does. This, the disruption to the oil supply is pretty significant, even for China. Even though they are pretty well insulated, that isn't going to last forever. But also, if this does bring about a global recession, that will hit China a lot harder than it will hit a lot of other countries because of the fact that China is so much of the world's manufacturing. Yeah. So, no, it is absolutely in China's interest to end this war. So, a couple of different readings on that. In terms of what can actually be achieved between the US and China, well, this is made very complicated by the fact that there has just been another court ruling declaring the current tariffs that Trump has on, some of the current tariffs that Trump has on China and the rest of the world as illegal. These are the Section 122 tariffs. The Liberation Day tariffs were declared illegal by the Supreme Court, and refunds are now in process. So there are questions about how much leverage the US actually has in terms of tariffs. Now, it does have some tariffs on China that are outside of those two frameworks. There was reporting that one of the things that the US potentially wanted to achieve that could have been a kind of easy win would have been getting some kind of commitment out of China about the precursor chemicals for fentanyl.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's...
Haven't they been there?
I
feel like that Trump has announced that like 10 times.
Yes, yeah, but he could have announced it in China.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So there could have been that. What the bookmakers' favourite for what's going to come out of this is China agreeing to buy some more agricultural products. Just like they did last time around. Remember they pledged to buy $50 billion worth of soybeans or something like that?
Hang on, but I thought we're talking about China helping America.
Yeah.
So it should be what's America doing for China, not
is,
what's China doing for America.
What China would want from this is just for trade relations to be put on a far more stable footing.
Yeah.
Right. So
but they won't get that.
An end to the constant fluctuation, the constant threats, the constant back and forth. What China really wants is stability.
What they want is Trump to resign. And either take your pick out of Vance or Rubio to be in charge of tariff policy.
Yeah. So I mean, China's got levers of its own. Obviously, the supply of critical minerals.
Yes.
So it would be fairly easy for China to promise, we will buy some more soybeans. There's been a lot of talk about China buying Boeing aircraft. Trump wants them to put in a huge order for Boeing aircraft, like for 10,000 aircraft or something. This is despite the fact that Boeing only makes about 675 a year and has an enormous backlog.
I wonder if China bundled together a solution to, inverted commas, solution to a bunch of Trump's problems.
Yeah.
Like saying, okay, we'll lean on Iran for you. and we'll buy lots of Boeings.
Yes.
We'll give you something you can take home, and then you can say, oh, look, I'm fixing the economy with these great deals. Look at me, the deal maker.
Yeah.
What Trump would give them in return, re-Taiwan.
Right. Okay, so this is the other big thing that has been discussed. And as far as I know, at this point in the negotiations, the negotiations haven't got to that yet. Now I can check to see if there are any updates.
Late breaking news.
Let me
news that's only 24 hours old for you folks.
Beijing has approved export licenses for several hundred American slaughterhouses.
Slaughterhouses.
Okay,
Quentin Tarantino will be excited.
She warned Trump during their meeting that the issue of Taiwan could bring the two countries into conflict. Handled well, the two countries can maintain stability. If handled poorly, the two countries will collide or even clash. So it doesn't look like anything's actually been negotiated. They won't
announce it.
Well, yeah, what China was...
It'll be a private understanding.
What China was looking for was a delay or reduction in US arms sales to Taiwan. So there was the Trump administration delayed announcing a $13 billion package of arms sales to Taiwan to avoid angering Xi before the summit.
Yep.
So that's what they would be looking for. Now, we've talked a lot before on PEP about how the Biden administration, it was very, very clear where they stood on Taiwan. And to the extent that Biden was actually undermining official US policy on Taiwan by openly saying the United States would defend Taiwan. Not just sell weapons to Taiwan or give weapons to Taiwan to defend itself, actually defending Taiwan. Now, it's hard to see where Trump lands on Taiwan, but it's obviously not there. As I said, if China had attacked Taiwan, there would have been a 100% chance that the Biden administration would have gone to war. Don't know what it is for the Trump administration, but it's clearly not 100%. And there has been a lot of fear from Taiwan hawks that Trump will see Taiwan as a transaction piece. And certainly some of the things that he said this week were not encouraging to them. He said, Taiwan is 9,500 miles away from us. It's only 64 miles from him, referring to Xi Jinping. So as you can see, there's a bit of a difference there. Right. So that would not have been encouraging to people, including a lot of Republicans who really want a more hawkish line on Taiwan. They are obviously also very worried about the depletion of munitions, which and the fact that some of them have been transferred directly from Asia to the Middle East. So, but anyway, obviously the negotiations are still going on, so we can't really say anything about what has eventuated. By the time that you listen to this podcast, though, you will probably know. You have a better idea than we do. You are the experts, not us.
Dave, if you want to give one of your famous updates tomorrow when we record,
maybe I will.
we'll use it, but let's not make a habit of that because you do have another job.
Yes, that's right, okay. I do.
That's okay. All right, anything else on China?
No.
Okay, I got nothing, so that's fine. I'm going to take a little bit of time here, but you can jump in and jump throughout. I want to talk about Virginia.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a lot to talk about here. We did talk a lot about this before. I talked about it with Melina a lot as well. Basically, Supreme Court back in 2019 ruled they were not going to be in the business of refereeing gerrymanders anymore. And any partisan gerrymander, fine by them. But there were still 3 limits to gerrymanders. 1, the Voting Rights Act, forcing racial gerrymanders in the South, which diluted how effective a Republican gerrymander could be in the South. That's obviously now gone. 2 was the fact that the Democrats had been slowly moving towards good government practices over the last 2 decades. They used to be the kings of gerrymandering back in the day. But the last couple of decades, they sort of changed their ways a bit. And a lot of Democrat states, so blue states, have been implementing independent commissions to do their districting. And 3 was the tradition that states only drew their congressional boundaries after every census, which was once every 10 years. Okay. Trump then last year tore up number 3. It had been there being a little perforation put in by Tom DeLay back in 2003.
I remember that. Yeah.
But other than that, Trump tore it up by pressuring Texas and a bunch of other states to execute mid-cycle gerrymanders.
Yes.
So no more 10-year wait, just whenever you like. Then after Texas executed their mid-cycle gerrymander to rig up potentially 4 more House seats, I don't think they're going to win 4 more, but potentially 4 more, in the midterms for Republicans, the Democrats read the room and they decided to fight fire with fire. California gerrymandered 5 seats for Democrats, and a bunch of other red states then started talking about doing more gerrymanders as well in retaliation for the retaliation. So then Virginia decided to join in for Democrats. Now, the Virginia process was complicated because they also had an independent commission do their districting, but the independent commission, importantly, was in their constitution. So you had to have a constitutional change to get rid of it or to overrule it. And to change the Virginia Constitution is also complicated. You need to have the state legislature pass a bill twice on either side of an election in order to even hold that referendum. They end up passing the bill for the first time 4 days before Election Day. And then just after the election, they passed it again. And Virginia voted for the constitutional change, 51.6% to 48.3%, which allowed them to gerrymander a 6-5 state to become a 10-1 state. Now, that's all the background. Okay, even though I hate gerrymandering, I actually supported that move.
Yeah.
Even Sweet Summer Chaz supported that move. Because I don't think you can unilaterally disarm when one side is playing by different rules. That's just stupid.
Yes.
I don't think Democrats should ever escalate the degradation of standards. But if they have already degraded,
Yes.
I absolutely think they should not put themselves in a position where they're going to lose elections simply because they're trying to maintain higher standards
Yes.
that will never be implemented properly nationwide.
That's right.
Because they're losing. I did express a concern about the manner in which they conducted their referendum to Molina. I thought it was shoddy, and I thought it was borderline cheating. This was the question they asked, Dave. I'm not sure you've seen this before, but just in case. Should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections, while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census? Now, I thought to describe a 10-1 gerrymander as restoring fairness in the upcoming elections was bad. I think that was unacceptably biased. And if I was on the court, I wouldn't have let that referendum happen without changing that wording. First of all, what do you think of that question? Do you think that was okay or not?
Well, if you were looking at fairness in the upcoming elections as being a national thing,
Yes,
then you could argue that was right. But I think that was a poorly designed question for a lot of reasons. It's very long.
Yeah.
Now, we did talk before, a couple of weeks ago, about these kinds of ballot questions. Are the people actually capable of voting in their own interests on them? And my position is yes, they are. As long as they understand who is on which side of the issue, which they almost certainly did in this, then they are capable of voting the right way.
And to be fair, I should note that that was not the only writing.
Right.
That was the question.
Yep.
But if they cared enough to read everything that was handed to them in literature, there was a full explanation given, which was much more reasonable than that.
Yep.
Now, most people obviously would not have read the full explanation.
No.
But if they were interested, it was there. So I should at least acknowledge that.
Yes.
In the end, it didn't even matter. But before we talk about what did matter in the referendum, I want to mention something else that has been entirely forgotten, but I want to back over it because it's important. In general, there was a lot of triumphalism when the Democrats got their gerrymander happening. The worst person by a mile was Senate pro tempore leader Louise Lucas. This woman's like 82, but she is an appalling Twitter troll. And I'm pretty sure it's her. It's not her team. It's not like Gavin Newsom where she's got a team. The reason I say that is because the picture on her Twitter header is her with boxing gloves.
Right.
So I think that's her image, that she's just an asshole. Right. And she responded to Ted Cruz, for instance, whinging about the Virginia gerrymander with the tweet, "You all started it and we fucking finished it." And she speculated about getting a 10-1 license plate for her Hummer to match the 10 Democrat and 1 Republican seat in the gerrymander in another one of her tweets.
Mm-hmm.
And she literally sold T-shirts that read 10 fucking 1. She sold those T-shirts.
She was also very dismissive of any Democrats who suggested that this might not be a good thing.
Oh, yeah. She told...
She might be the oldest person ever to use the term cucking stool on X.
Yeah. She that was to Chris Murphy, wasn't
yes,
it?
Yeah.
Telling him to butt out. He wasn't even saying don't do the gerrymandering.
No.
He was just trying to help out. She didn't want to hear about it.
Yes.
She also tweeted out an AI picture of the 4 Republicans whose seats she had just gerrymandered, now apparently working at McDonald's. And when the Attorney General of Virginia tweeted out that in his office's view this last year, he said the referendum would be breaking Virginia law. She responded with a meme of a kid's book that supposedly was named "Your Opinions Are Shit, They're Fucking Shit." Okay, so she's pretty bad, this woman, right? She's the direct opposite of what, in my view, America needs. She's yet another leader of a party who's a juvenile troll. Do you have anything to add about her before I say what happened to her? Okay, Dave. Early last week, the FBI raided at least 10 locations across Virginia related to Louise Lucas.
State Senator Louise Lucas is at the center of a major FBI corruption investigation. Right now, in fact, agents are executing search warrants across the Commonwealth, including her office. Alex Hogan is in Portsmouth, Virginia. Alex.
Hi, Harris. So the FBI here telling us today that these are court-authorized criminal search warrants that they are issuing, and they're going into the building behind me. This is the office here in Portsmouth of State Senator Louise Lucas. You can likely see some of the FBI agents behind me. All of the staffers inside this building were told to come outside. I could hear them saying that they were not allowed back in the building. Throughout the last hour, we've been seeing the FBI come and go carrying boxes out of the building. Now, just across the parking lot next to where I am, there is a cannabis dispensary. We know that the state senator is associated with several cannabis locations and dispensaries. And what we're seeing there, a completely different scene carrying out. SWAT teams arrived with their weapons drawn, telling anyone in the building to come out of the building with their hands up. We also saw at least 3 people being taken away, taken into custody. First, they were put in handcuffs, put on the ground, and then they were taken away. So
she's got troubles right now.
So I haven't been on Twitter for 6 years now. Do people still say triggered in all caps when people overreact to Twitter trolling?
I wouldn't say it's...
'Cause I would say that's a pretty bad example of someone being triggered.
Yeah, she was pretty triggered. So, I don't think they use it quite so much these days, but they should bring it back.
Yeah. Just for circumstances like... I'm going to respond to this tweet with an FBI raid.
Yeah. Well, that's a question. Did they?
Of course they did.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll ask your opinion in about 6 lines' time.
Okay.
Just save it.
Yes.
Keep the tension going, Dave.
Okay.
What will Dave think?
Yeah.
This investigation was supposedly about Louise Lucas using her donors' cash to bankroll her family business, fund her daughter's political career, cut checks to churches who support Democrats, pay for casino events, support organisations where she's a member, and to cover tabs at restaurants. There are also bribery investigations involved as well, which wouldn't be a huge surprise, given she's previously been accused of approving the casino project for someone who donated $100,000 to her. The question, though, that we sadly need to ask, because this is the Trump administration, is, was this a political investigation or a real investigation?
Well, the timing would be
the timing's very interesting.
I mean, first of all...
Hang on.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Okay, yeah.
I need to give you all the info and then you can jump in. We know for a fact the investigation started under Biden.
Right.
We know that for a fact.
Yes.
So that's an important piece of information.
Yep.
We also know that according to MS Now, the investigation had started to peter out after 3 years. Mm-hmm. And then, of all people, Lindsay Halligan, Trump's hack, was pressuring prosecutors to charge Lucas because she believed it would be good for the White House to accuse a prominent state Democrat in Virginia with bribery before the midterms. Now, Dave, take it away.
Yes, this definitely suggests that at least this stage of it is very political. I mean, the stuff that she's accused of doing is very bad, but de facto legal in Trump's America.
That's true.
Like seriously. Yeah. So, I mean, it is one of these things like, yes, there's been a legitimate investigation going on, but the timing of this absolutely reeks of politics.
And in a corrupt state, the cliche is that there's corruption everywhere. They just choose to charge the people who are their enemies.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean their enemies aren't corrupt.
No.
They are.
Yeah.
But they let all the other corrupt people go.
Well, this is how authoritarian regimes operate. Corruption is completely endemic, but corruption charges can always be used at the right time against people that you want to get rid of.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am inclined to agree. Look, I hold no candle for Louise Lucas, but
obviously not.
Yes, and she could well be corrupt, and I suspect she is. But I also think this investigation is totally political.
Yeah.
And I hate that every investigation by the DOJ is now tainted because they're such hacks.
Yes. Although this one actually might result in charges, which would be an extreme novelty.
For Lindsay Halligan in particular.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like Kash Patel won't even know what to say.
I think what he'll be saying is glug, glug, glug. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up because people have already forgotten Louise Lucas.
Yes, I certainly had.
And in any other administration, that would be the scandal.
Yeah.
But we just move on to the next scandal.
Okay.
Let's talk the court case now.
Yes.
All right. So on Saturday, we learned that the Virginia Supreme Court threw out the referendum 4-3, which was a shock to me for two reasons. Firstly, because the same court had already allowed the referendum to be held in the first place.
Yes.
And like I said, I wouldn't have let it be held. I would have made them change that wording.
My understanding is, so Democrats lobbied them pretty heavily.
They did.
To not to have the decision until after the election because they thought that winning the election would strengthen their arguments.
Well, they thought they could intimidate the court.
Yeah.
By going, the people have spoken. Didn't work. But yeah, that was the first thing I was surprised by.
Yes, yep.
The second reason I was surprised was because some of these judges, and I said this when I was talking to Melina, some of these judges are going to need to be reconfirmed by the Democratic legislature real soon.
Yeah.
One of them is the guy who wrote the majority. He is due to be reconfirmed in January.
Wow.
And
maybe he believes in this stuff even more than you do.
Well, I was going to say, he's one of two things.
Yes.
Either he's very partisan, extremely partisan, that he's willing to sacrifice his own job to help Republicans win a couple of seats.
Yeah.
Or he's just a very impressive person. Good on him if he is, and tut if he's not. I don't know. I honestly don't know because we're going to get in the twos and fro's of the case in a second, and it could be either. It really could.
Yeah.
And he is definitely losing his job, this guy. So there's no way he's going to keep his job after this.
Maybe he just wanted to retire.
Maybe. I mean, he's 64.
Maybe he wanted to go and meow at his neighbours.
In terms of partisanship, by the way, the Virginia Supreme Court has 3 judges that were appointed by a Republican state Senate and House.
Yep.
1 appointed by a Democratic state Senate and House, and 3 that were appointed by a divided state Senate and House. The majority had 3. They had the 3 Republicans only, and 1 mixed. The minority had 2 mixed and the 1 Democrat.
Yep.
So take what you will from that. Legally speaking, I actually think both sides made a very reasonable case. I've read it.
Yep.
And I thought both sides were quite reasonable.
Okay.
I think it was a tough legal call.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you the full Supreme Court treatment, but I will summarise the arguments and I'll let you decide, Dave.
Sure.
Judge Smith. There were many potential reasons to invalidate the referendum. There really were. They didn't get to most of them. They didn't even discuss most of them.
Yep.
They struck it down on the first grounds. They said that was enough. It was based on Article 12, Section 1 of the Virginia Constitution, which reads, in part, any amendment or amendments to this Constitution may be proposed in the Senate or House of Delegates, and if the same shall be agreed to by a majority of the members elected to each of the two houses, such proposed amendment or amendments shall be referred to the General Assembly at its first regular session held after the next general election of members of the House of Delegates. If it's such regular session or any subsequent special session of that General Assembly, the proposed amendment or amendments shall be agreed to by a majority of all the members elected to each house, etc., etc. Okay, so the key bit has to be after the next general election. Now, given the state legislature passed the first bill 4 days before the end of early voting for the election, what does general election mean?
Yes.
Is it just election day or is it the entire voting period? What is the election? Now, the majority said, I'll quote them, voting in the general election for the House of Delegates began on September 19th, 2025 and ended on Election Day, November 4th, 2025. The General Assembly voted for the first time to propose the constitutional amendment to the electorate on October 31st, 2025. By that date, over 1.3 million votes had been cast in the general election, which was approximately 40% of the total vote for that election cycle. For these reasons, we hold that the definition of general election in Article 12, Section 1 describes the combined actions of voters casting ballots and of officers of election receiving those votes and closing the polls on the last day of the election. The plain and ordinary meaning of the expression matches the historical definition embraced by the courts and legal scholars. And then they went into some detail through the history of Virginia constitutions and the historical use of the term election to suggest they thought that their definition in the past was used most often, and it was the most reasonable one, the entire election period.
Right.
They also said the plain English meaning of the phrase general election obviously means the whole election. They wrote, imagine one of the over 1 million Virginians who had voted in person before Election Day in 2025 walking into a polling place. The voter says to the officer of election, I'm here to vote in the election. The officer of election responds, we're not conducting an election here. But that's why I'm here, the voter replies. Maybe so, but let me explain, the officer of election insists. You can vote in the election, but we're not conducting an election today. Elections are only conducted on Election Day. Legal scholars and courts would have the same bewildered reaction as the hypothetical average citizen. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's what they say. They also said that all sides agreed on what the purpose of what this constitutional provision was. The clear purpose of the intervening election requirement was to provide them with the constitutionally protected opportunity to elect the House of Delegates that will participate in the second legislative vote on the proposed amendment. So the fact that that 40% of the population had already voted on day 42 of the election period when the first bill passed the state legislature wasn't good enough in their view because it robbed that 40% of their constitutionally protected opportunity to vote for or against delegates who favour or disfavour amending the Constitution by not anticipating a legislative vote on the constitutional amendment 4 days before the last day of voting.
Yes.
Now, I'd argue early voters know that they are potentially missing out on the important events. They're kind of choosing to trade full information for convenience. That's their choice.
Yes.
But I still think every argument I've just told you so far seem quite reasonable.
It certainly didn't seem unreasonable.
Yeah. So do you agree that they're reasonable arguments?
Yeah, they are reasonable arguments. Not saying they're necessarily
the winning arguments.
Absolutely right, but they're reasonable.
No, that's
yes.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. All right. Now I'll tell you what the minority said. The minority possibly had even stronger arguments. Their argument can be summed up with, if you want to know what the Constitution means, look up the Constitution. They start with, and they pinpointed a whole bunch of other phrases in the Constitution. They started with Article 2, Section 4, which says the General Assembly shall regulate the time, place, manner, conduct, and administration of primary, general, and special elections, and shall have power to make any other law regulating elections not inconsistent with this Constitution. Okay, so what's the General Assembly say? Code Section 24.2101 in the General Assembly specifically defines the phrase a general election to mean an election held in the Commonwealth on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November.
Ah.
That's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
And Section 24.27011A says the early vote begins, quote, on the 45th day prior to any election and shall continue until 5 p.m. on the Saturday immediately preceding the election. Now, that sounds pretty clear until you see what the majority had to say about that.
What did they have to say?
Which was...
This really is as exciting as you promised.
Which is, they said, the statute's preamble, the preamble to all those definitions, says explicitly...
It's opposite day.
The definitions don't apply when context requires a different meaning. That's what it says.
It says that in the preamble?
Yes, it does.
Usually the preamble says something like, well, God gave us this state.
No, this is a very specific preamble.
Wow.
The Virginia, the takeaway in Virginia is they really do laws. But anyway, the majority also noted that the Virginia Attorney General Jay Jones, who is a goose, by the way, didn't even mention that code once in any of his briefs.
Wow.
It was the dissenting judges alone who came up with that. They did his work for him because he's a goose. He seems shithouse, Jay Jones.
Yes.
Don't want to give away my opinions on Jay Jones.
By the way, sorry, I just got to do a little tangent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course you do.
Just if anyone a few sentences ago heard that thing, that the Tuesday after the first Monday in November, yes, this is what the law is, not just in Virginia, but across the United States with elections. It is not the first Tuesday in November. It's always the Tuesday after the first Monday. Do you know why that is the case?
No, I don't.
I don't either. I would be really interested to know. I do often get asked, though, why Tuesday? That's because Tuesday is traditional market day. So when elections were first being held, it made sense to have it on the traditional market day. And then, of course, that leads to the question, well, why is Tuesday the traditional market day? Well, duh. Obviously, because you have to go to church on Sunday, then you need to allow some time to ride your horse to the nearest market town on Tuesday. That's why elections have to be on Tuesdays. And if you can come up with any better scheme, I'd really like to hear it. No, I wouldn't.
Because, of course, they didn't have wagons and agriculture in any country other than America.
That's right.
Yes.
So anyway, that's why elections on Tuesdays. But I really don't. I hope that someone does know and can enlighten us as to why it is the Tuesday after the first Monday. It can't be the first Tuesday.
That's funny.
It's the Tuesday after the first Monday, which means, among other things, an election can never be held on November 1st. So for those of you who were hanging out for that for some reason, sorry, never going to happen. But elections can be held as late as November 8th, which I think 2016 was November 8th, wasn't it?
Might be, I don't remember.
Yes, it was.
But there's some compensation, I feel, for the people who are hanging for November 1st. Anyway, while we can all agree that Jay Jones is shithouse, that doesn't mean the dissenters aren't right.
Yeah.
Even if they had to come up with that point themselves.
Yes.
Right? Especially since they cited a number of other times the Virginia State Legislature explicitly defined a general election as any election held in the Commonwealth on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. Then they went on to note, in Article 2, Section 9 of the Constitution, it said, no voter during the time of holding any election at which he is entitled to vote shall be compelled to perform military service except in time of war or public danger, nor to attend any court.
And as we know, it's definitely not time of war at the moment.
No, it's not.
Nothing in there about special little excursion.
It's a little excursion, that's all.
Nothing in there about operations or projects or... Yep.
So I don't need to worry about that. Nor to attend any court as suitor, juror, or witness, nor shall any such voter be subject to arrest under any civil process during attendance at election or in going to or returning therefrom.
So hang on, what can you get away with during that election period then and not get arrested for?
Well, you don't go to court for anything.
Wow.
and you don't have to serve in the military. I mean, obviously, those conditions are not meant to last for 45 days.
No, they are not.
Which was the point that the minority were making.
Yeah.
And they went on. Article 4, Section 4 states, any person may be elected to the Senate who at the time of the election is 21 years of age. 21 on election day, 21 when early voting starts.
Yep.
Doesn't make any sense unless we're talking about one day, which is election day.
That is true.
So the majority has plain English on their side.
Yeah.
Plus the obvious intention of the referendum provision. The minority has the actual language used in the Constitution on their side.
Yes.
So, which do you favour, Dave?
Well, this is a really tough question, and I've got to say I don't have the legal know-how to answer it. I think you'd probably need a very deep knowledge of Virginia law to answer this, because certainly when you hear the majority, you're like, that does make a lot of sense in terms of ordinary language understanding. Like if I was told the same thing about an Australian law that said the same thing, I would assume that it involved the whole election period. But the minority is pointing to some rather concrete stuff from the Virginia Constitution. And the Virginia Constitution is nothing to be sneezed at.
No, apparently they've got great preambles.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, look, I mean, honestly, I'm torn. I mean, I think I might just lean with the majority, but I could so easily vote with the minority. Like it's a real 50-50. One bit, which I do think is bullshit, is the bit you referred to earlier, which was the majority's response to the question, if you thought this referendum was fatally flawed last year, why didn't you say so during the court case last year rather than wasting everyone's time and money and ruling that way now? They wrote, remember I told you I did have the quote. I'll give you the quote.
Yeah.
It's fair to ask whether we could have or should have reviewed the constitutionality of the proposed amendment prior to it being presented to the voters. But it's not a question the Commonwealth should ask. Throughout this litigation, the Commonwealth has insisted that we cannot lawfully decide this case prior to the referendum. In its motion for a stay in this case, the Commonwealth argued the long-standing Virginia precedent, Scott versus James, was virtually indistinguishable from this case, and it clearly held the courts cannot interfere to stop any of the proceedings while this permanent law is in the process of being made, and only upon the completion of the proceedings, if the validity of the amendment is assailed on the ground the several provisions of the Constitution have not been complied with, then the courts can pass upon the validity of the amendment. The Commonwealth concluded that the lesson is clear. Courts may not preemptively invalidate a proposed constitutional amendment before it has been passed by the voters. Okay. Now, that's bullshit because, sure, Jay Jones is an incompetent boob who thought he could bully the courts. Sure. But the court didn't have to agree with that argument.
They did not.
They're the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
They decide
of
Virginia. They decide what precedents they're going to follow. This is like a 115-year-old precedent that you could argue is irrelevant now.
Yep.
And they could have just gotten rid of it. And I think they should have gotten rid of it. I think they just wasted everyone's time. And I think this has eroded people's faith in the law.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think Virginia, I hate to see them eroding people's faith in the law because they seem to be doing the right things generally. But everyone's feeling cynical and bitter as a result of this.
And you're torn.
I'm torn.
Like Natalie Imbruglia.
I'm like her in every way.
Although, that song was not written by her.
Yeah.
When you tell people that, you will see their childhood die right in front of you.
They'll be torn.
Yeah.
And then they'll do that little dance that she does in the film clip where they're spinning around with their jackets loose so they look kind of sexy. Anyway.
Speaking of sexy,
yes.
Encyclopedia Britannica says the reason Election Day was specified as the Tuesday after the first Monday was to prevent it from falling on November 1st, considered by many Christians as All Saints' Day. And also because merchants typically book the first day of the month to settle their books for the previous month.
Okay.
Those merchants.
Always great when you find out that there's a reason for something. So all of the oat salesmen and meter boys.
I find it hilarious. I find it hilarious that back when they were designing these dates and they're like the foundations of the society, they were so solicitous of being good to the people in church and the merchants and the wagoners and and now they don't give a shit about anyone. like they could change these dates to actually fit in with people's schedules, but they don't give a stuff. They're just preserving what was good for the merchants in the 18th century.
Whereas now it's like, you work in a normal job with normal hours? Fuck you.
Yes. Anyway. Okay, so that were the legals.
Yes.
Then let's get to the practicals. This has been a disaster for the Democrats. Firstly, they sunk $62 million into pushing the redistricting referendum.
Yep.
$40 million came from Hakeem Jeffries' super PAC, and he can't afford to spare that money. The Democrats are so low on cash, they need to use that. Abigail Spanberger has basically donated her entire administration to this.
Yep.
She invested all her popularity. She lost like 20 points of approval on this and has got nothing to show for it.
Yep.
Once it's gone, it's not coming back.
Yeah.
It's devastating for Democratic morale because they squandered the high moral ground here.
Yes.
They've spent the last, decade being the norms party. And they made the choice, finally, to smash the norms.
Yes.
And they've got nothing for it, which leads to a lot of anger, bitterness, and infighting, potentially.
Yep.
And it's particularly frustrating for them because the thing that's hung them here is the fact that they've spent a decade in Virginia trying to do the right thing. And that hasn't helped them in any way, shape, or form. I mean, every single part of Virginia is idealism here. Like their constitutional change methods, the independent redistricting, just everything has just been them trying to do the best possible system. While the southern states practice partisanship and power plays.
Yes.
And those good government measures now make it harder for the Democrats to even compete with the Southern Republicans. They not only have to overcome their independent commission, they need to change the Constitution and change it in the hardest possible way. Southern states do what the hell they like and ignore voters completely, and Virginia gets punished because of it.
Yes.
So that makes people very frustrated.
It does.
It's especially frustrating because Trump is the one who started this bullshit.
He did.
with Texas, and despite the Democrats engaging him for once, he's still been rewarded for his dodginess. And that's the killer, really, the context. On its own, I don't think anyone would care about this Virginia court decision. It's a very reasonable decision. But coming after the US Supreme Court just allowed Louisiana to redraw their maps literally in the middle of a primary.
Yes.
That they're literally throwing out tens of thousands of votes in Louisiana.
Yep.
And you compare it to the concerns of the Virginia Supreme Court.
Yeah.
They seem rather quaint by comparison.
They really do.
Also, we have been constantly hearing from Republicans that early voting is fake and should be gotten rid of. And now, apparently, early voting is sacrosanct. Finally, and most importantly, the Florida Supreme Court is currently in exactly the same position as the Virginia Supreme Court was, except the Florida law is open and shut. This ain't 50-50.
Yeah.
Partisan gerrymandering is banned in Florida. Full stop.
Yep.
No preamble. Right? DeSantis has a 24-4 map in front of the Florida Supreme Court. No serious court would allow that. Yet no one expects the Florida Supreme Court to overrule him. Let's see. Maybe we're being too cynical. Let's see. We'll find out in another week or two. If the Florida Supreme Court rules the way they should, I think that would go a long way to making people feel like this decision was reasonable. And it would take the temperature out, I feel, because people go, 4 seats lost on both sides from Supreme Courts making decisions, well, that's fine. That's cool. Yeah. If they rule the way we expect them to, which is with power, then it will make people so much more bitter about this decision in hindsight.
Yep.
But if the worst happens and Florida do rule that way, I honestly, people are going to think I'm being Sweet Summer Chaz again. The problem is not the Virginia Supreme Court. It's the Florida Supreme Court and it's the US Supreme Court. Let's put the blame where it lies.
Yep.
Don't blame people for doing something that is completely reasonable.
Yes.
When the reason you're blaming them is because dickheads are getting away with being dickheads.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, there's this real problem now with, in a system where cheating has been legalized, doing the right thing is going to screw you.
Yeah.
And you begin to see the scale of this problem when you just get some instance suddenly of when this comes up against another country's reality, right? Now, the example I'm going to give, this is outside of the election space. This is in the football space. This is in the FIFA World Cup space, where a few weeks ago, Trump's special envoy to FIFA, Paolo Zampoli.
Okay.
So this is at the time where Trump's relationship with Giorgia Meloni has fallen apart because Giorgia Meloni is taking the Pope's side in Trump's theological disputes with the Pope.
Yeah.
Okay. 82% of popes have been Italian historically. Italy tends to side with the Pope. Okay. So somebody comes up with this bright idea that Trump's special envoy is going to go to FIFA and say, hey, well, since Iran is probably not coming to the World Cup and we don't want Iran in the World Cup, let's put Italy in instead. Now, Trump and his special envoy thought that Italy was really going to go for this, right? Because it is a football mad nation. It's won the World Cup 4 times. They're obviously incredibly disappointed about missing out for a 3rd time in a row. And the entire collective reaction of Italy was one at absolute horror at this proposal.
Yeah, don't patronise it.
Yeah, like how dare you suggest that after our hopeless national team failing to actually get there on their own merits, how dare you suggest that we just cheat our way in? Like, even on something that we really care about. The fact that we care about it so much, that is why we are so aghast at this suggestion, which then, of course, was quickly dropped. But you could see that kind of response was completely alien to Trump world. Completely alien to the Trump understanding of how things should work, which is you get what you want by whatever means possible.
Yeah, they don't do integrity.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, though, there aren't going to be that many instances where you just come up against another country's reality like that. But that is the reason why, as I was saying from the beginning of last year, the main sources of resistance to Trump are going to start outside the country, right? And that's where they happened. That was where resistance to the tariffs happened. That was where you have seen wholesale rejection of Trump's whole approach to international relations happening. That's where the most significant resistance is. Within the US, though, it's getting very, very hard to resist all of this stuff normatively because this is how the rules are being completely rewritten and you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage if you try to play by the old rules.
Yeah, and it sucks because what that means if you're fighting illiberalism,
yes,
you can only fight it by being illiberal.
Yep.
I mean, this is the classic liberal conundrum.
Yes,
that like if you need to be intolerant of the intolerant,
yes,
otherwise the intolerant get you.
Yeah,
yes. On that note, by the way, I think the most hackish element of the last few weeks, has gotten barely any attention.
What's that?
It was from the Supreme Court, but it wasn't Calais.
Oh, what was it?
It was in the wake of Calais. It was Alabama applied because they had an injunction against them back from 2023 about their electorates, and they applied for that injunction to be lifted.
Yep.
Because they said, we want to use our gerrymandered map from 2023. Thank you very much.
Yep.
They had gerrymandered one of the 2 majority-minority seats away.
Yes.
And the court had ruled against them. And so there was an injunction against them from using it. Now you might go, fair enough. That injunction should be lifted because racial gerrymanders are now illegal. So that now it's okay. Partisan gerrymanders are fine. So you can have your partisan gerrymander now, Alabama. But the reason they lost in 2023 was not solely because of the Voting Rights Act. And so, well, not solely because the Voting Rights Act's racial gerrymandering interpretations.
Yes.
I'm going to quote Sonia Sotomayor, who wrote for the 3 Liberal justices in dissent of this decision.
Yep.
Which and the Supreme Court agreed to
Yes.
lift the injunction.
Yeah.
Sonia Sotomayor wrote, in addition to holding that Alabama's 2023 redistricting plan violates Section 2, the district court held, in one of the 3 cases before this court, that Alabama violated the 14th Amendment by intentionally diluting the votes of black voters in Alabama. That constitutional finding of intentional discrimination
Yes.
is independent of and unaffected by any of the legal issues discussed in Calais. It said not a word about the standard for 14th Amendment intentional discrimination claims like the one that the district court decided on remand in round 2. Calais also insisted that this court's prior decision in Allen remains good law. See, we have not overruled Allen. These cases, the Alabama cases, are of course Allen. So if Allen is good law anywhere, it must be good law here. So, just for those who don't quite understand that, Calais said you're still not allowed to intentionally racially discriminate.
Yes.
If you can't prove racial discrimination, then too bad. But if you can prove it, the Voting Rights Act still applies. The court in this case found Alabama had intentionally racially discriminated.
Yes.
And in Calais, they also specifically said they were not overruling that court's decision. And then a couple of days later, they overrule the court's decision. They vacate the injunction from the decision and ask them to reconsider it in the light of Calais. Hacks. That's terrible. And to be honest, I know that Pepper's going to find this very amusing. I'm shocked that Roberts and Coney Barrett, at least, would be so overtly and obviously hackish. I am aware that they're Republicans.
So sad to see a crush just die like that.
It's terrible. I'm aware they're Republicans. I'm aware they do Republican things. There are things they've done I have not been happy with. But that, to anyone who understands the law, was so obvious. And you just go, wow, that's just Alito stuff.
Chaz is going to lock himself in his bedroom and listen to Boys Don't Cry on repeat.
That's going to rock in a corner in the fetal position.
Yeah. Okay, so
that's bad.
I've got a couple of questions and comments. The first one is, okay, so Democrats have applied to the Supreme Court for emergency relief.
Yes.
I assume they're not going to get it.
They're not going to get it.
Yes.
The grounds that they have applied are just ridiculous. And I'm not going to waste your time by going through the grounds.
Yes.
It would take me 10 minutes and that they suck.
Yep.
But I will say this.
Yes.
If they got their way on at least one of those grounds, it would be a disaster. Because one of those grounds you will recognise is the independent state legislature theory.
Yeah.
The idea that the state legislatures overrule the courts when it comes to elections.
Yeah.
And back in the day, you might recall, when Trump was trying to stage coups, that was what they were trying to use. They were trying to use the hack MAGA state legislatures to overrule courts. And the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. And we all cheered when the Supreme Court said that. Now Jay Jones, bloody hell, Jay Jones, wants the Supreme Court to overturn that and make the state legislatures have primacy.
Yes,
which would just be inviting a MAGA coup in the midterms. I mean, he's doing this for 2 seats or 3 seats.
Yes,
like you're risking the entire election.
Yeah.
It's insane. So they're not going to win, and they shouldn't win.
Yes.
So yes.
Okay. So if you're wondering where the tally stands now on terms of potential seats flipped,
I've got it for you.
Or at least in the party's own calculations, because we might not agree with them. Last I saw, it was so it's now 14-6. Republicans and Democrats.
Give or take, because there are issues about who's going to win what seat in a big election.
But if we take it in terms of intention, the intention is Republicans flip 14, Democrats.
I've got better than that.
Yep.
I can express to you in a very useful way, which is in terms of points won on the generic vote.
Yep.
Which is the Upshot's done these numbers. They said the 2024 map, Republicans had a 0.3 point advantage on.
Yep.
After California, Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio, Texas, Virginia, and Utah redistricted.
Yep.
That became a 0.1 point
Yes.
advantage. So it's basically even.
Yep.
After Florida redistricted, that was a 1.4 point advantage to Republicans. After Tennessee redistricted, that became a 1.8 point advantage.
Yep.
After Virginia was struck down, that became a 2.5 point advantage.
Yep.
And after Louisiana, Alabama, and South Carolina redistrict, which they may not.
Yes.
But if they do,
Yep.
that's a 3.9 point advantage.
Yes. Now, South Carolina is the big one that actually looks like it probably won't redistrict. Trump is trying to push them very, very hard on this. Now, South Carolina, to be clear, at the moment is 5-1, right? So they want to make it 6-0. Now, South Carolina admittedly is a very red state, but it's not 6-0. And the only Democratic seat is a majority African-American seat that is held by James Clyburn. Now, anyone who's listened to PEP or really followed American politics or watched Planet America for a long period will know all about James Clyburn. He is one of the real power brokers of the Democratic Party. In 2020, it was basically him who saved Joe Biden by mobilizing black voters in the South Carolina primary behind Joe Biden to yet again pull out one of my favorite stats. 46% of voters in the exit poll in that Democratic primary said they voted for Joe Biden because of Clyburn's endorsement of him. I have never seen an endorsement that powerful in an election. And it's no exaggeration to say it was the scale of the black vote in South Carolina that convinced all of the other Democratic contenders, apart from Bernie Sanders, to fall behind Joe Biden. So Biden owed his presidency to James Clyburn. Don't know how Democratic voters in general feel about that now. But anyway, very, very significant figure. And because he'd been around for so long, you know, he had long-term understandings with Republican legislators in South Carolina that, you know, the way that gerrymandering usually happens is it's to protect incumbents. The vast majority of gerrymandering is to protect incumbents.
Totally.
And both parties profit from this. Often it's a result of some sort of tacit agreement, which Clyburn had with Republicans for decades. But it doesn't seem to have been that which will save him in this instance. It's not just because Republicans have some sort of sentimental attachment to James Clyburn. No, it's because they're actually worried about the electoral mathematics. Remember what we said about the dangers of gerrymandering. If you're gerrymandering successfully, usually the way that you do it is to spread your own supporters out. You have smaller margins, but you have more victories. But if you make the margins too small, then in a wave election, you can lose everything. And that's what they're scared of. So they were actually scared of creating 2 Democratic seats in the process of trying to erase 1.
That's correct.
So it looks like they are not going to go ahead with that, despite the fact that Trump is still pushing for it.
So what that means is the Democrats are looking at having to overcome a 3 to 4 point disadvantage in the midterms. The generic vote at the moment is ahead by 6 points for Democrats, and I think it's going to be bigger by the time it gets to the election.
I think it will be bigger by the time it gets to an election,
So
but
I don't think this will cost the midterms.
it won't cost them the midterms, but it could contribute significantly to the size of the majority that they
Yes,
get.
it could.
Yes.
It could. But I was going to say that what I actually think people shouldn't lose track of, and I think Abigail Spanberger has been very good.
Yes.
In the in the wake of that decision.
Yep.
It's like she was very measured in what she said. There was a lot of waving fists and thunderbolts, but
Yes.
she wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
She said more than 3 million Virginians cast their ballots in Virginia's redistricting referendum, and the majority of Virginia voters voted to push back against a president who said he's entitled to more Republican seats in Congress with a temporary and responsive referendum. They made their voices heard. I'm disappointed by the Supreme Court of Virginia's ruling, but my focus as governor will be on ensuring that all voters have the information necessary to make their voices heard this November in the midterm elections, because in those elections, we, the voters, will have the final say. That's perfect.
Thanks, Abspan.
And I think what she hasn't lost track of is that at the end of the day, this doesn't make a huge difference.
Yep.
We're talking about, like I said, we're talking about 4 seats theoretically.
Yep.
In reality, it'll probably be 2 or 3 seats
Yes.
that Republicans will get out of this. The big issue is going to be 2028. Because there are going to be so many gerrymanders happening in the next 2 years.
There will be.
Like New York's going to jump on board. Illinois is going to come back. Maryland's going to come back. Republicans right across the country are going to be doing it. Virginia will get their own shot again because they have another legislative assembly election in 2027.
Yeah.
Which means they'll get one more shot before 2028.
Yeah.
So, and it's
going to be like that scene in Jaws where all the yahoos leave the harbour in their little boats with their explosives to go and try and hunt the shark. It's going to look like that kind of chaos and yahoo-ness.
Well, let me tell you where this is going. I'll tell you where this is going. You said about how gerrymanders make electorates safe.
Yeah.
In 1976, the U.S. House of Representatives had 101 structurally competitive congressional districts. That's defined as within 5 points of even. Last election, they had 42.
Yeah.
Right now, according to Elliot Morris at least, they've got 33, and they're falling. There's going to be 20 or less by the 2028 election. They're going to gerrymander all the rest into safe seats. So, which is just awful. Okay, the only other thing I'd say is, that's right, you talked about the Supreme Court. There was one other potential response, which was terrible, which I'm so glad hasn't happened. I don't know if you heard about this one. It was actually in one of the blogs I was reading, the down ballot. I actually read it directly in the blog, and I saw that and thought, oh no, they're going to do this for sure. And it was a clever way to respond. And what it was the idea that under Article 6, Section 9 of the Constitution in Virginia, the legislature has unlimited authority to set the retirement age for judges. And the idea was that the General Assembly lower the retirement age from 73 to 54.
Wow.
Then they clear the court, and then they replace them with 7 new people, lift the retirement age back to 73, and then they have the new court rehear the case under some technicality, and they get their map back.
That would be pretty dodgy.
I mean, look, it's brilliant, but it's evil. And if they pulled that off, it would instantly make the court a rubber stamp for the legislature.
Yes.
And every red state would copy them immediately.
Yes.
And we'd be one step closer to complete authoritarianism. So that would be a disaster. In the end, and the New York Times reported that that exact proposal was being seriously discussed in a call between senior Democrats. We don't know what Spanberger and Jeffries actually whether they wanted to do it or not.
Yeah.
All we know is that someone that pointed out from the Virginia legislature that they couldn't do it because they need to have a final decision by May 12.
Right.
In order to have time to fill in all the people in their electorates in their massively outdated software in order to send the ballots out to the right people.
Yep.
And for the primaries in August. And so they just ran out of time to even try it. It's also, by the way, means they've run out of time for the Supreme Court case. So the Supreme Court case is complete window dressing anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so glad they didn't do that because that would have been an absolute disaster for America. America is racing rapidly down the hill as it is. That would make it so that would remove the hill. It'd just be a cliff. So anyway, so thankfully they're not doing that.
Yep.
Look, I think we've probably talked enough about this. I had more here about how Jay Jones is an idiot. I think I probably made that clear. Do you know when he submitted the Supreme Court case, he submitted to the wrong court?
How can you submit it to the wrong court?
He submitted their application to the Supreme Court of Virginia, not to the Supreme Court of America. And he misspelt senator, and he misspelt Virginia. For the listeners, Virginia and Sentator.
Sentator. I feel that almost makes all of this worthwhile. This is the more that you can make things like a Simpsons episode.
Anyway, I don't like Jay Jones very much.
Okay.
Dave, talk about Iran.
Let's leave Virginia behind. Virginia, more than just hams and Thomas Jefferson. Okay, let's talk about Iran. I want to start with a sort of big observation about something I have noticed, which is Trump seems to be talking less and less about ending the war imminently.
Yes.
Now, obviously, everything that Trump has said has always been a mix of claims about ending the war very quickly and being in it for the long haul because he is trying to signal different things to different audiences. But I think in the last couple of weeks, there has been a marked shift away from claims that the war will end quickly. And where this really came home to me was on Monday morning, our time. That is usually the time you just expect. I was just waiting for some comment from Trump on Sunday night US time, which would indicate the war is just about to end just before the markets opened the next day. There was nothing this time. In fact, Trump went on a particularly bizarre social media tear on Sunday night instead.
I actually have that for you.
Yes.
That's in This Is Not Normal.
We'll get to that later, which that's the last thing that would have been doing was calming the stock market down. Although the stock market seems to respond pretty much the same way to everything these days.
I'm pretty sure they're not on Truth Social.
Yeah, that's the topic for another time. But anyway, Trump is not pretending that the war is going to end quickly anymore. And this is a pretty significant shift. One of the things he's been getting really upset about, so the Wall Street Journal was reporting on this, is the reporting on the war. So on Sunday, he referred to some of the war reporting as virtually treasonous, right? Because there have been, you might have seen over the last week or so, a lot of leaks from the Pentagon.
Yeah.
A huge number of intelligence leaks suggesting that the war is not going as well as Trump and Pete Hegseth has been saying that it's going. So, among other things, there have been intelligence reports saying that Iran's missile capacity is not actually depleted that much, that they still have more than half of their missiles, that there's a big one this week. 30 of the 33 launches along the Strait of Hormuz are still operative.
Yeah.
That they still have access to the vast majority of their mobile launches, some of which they've repaired. Sorry,
I was 75% of the pre-war
75%.
inventories of mobile launches and 70% of its pre-war stockpiles of missiles.
Yes.
That's a CIA report.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So remembering that one of the big talking points of the war for Pete Hegseth was suggesting that the missile capacity had been massively reduced by this number they kept wheeling out until it sounded very suspicious of the massive decrease in the number of missiles that Iran had used in the war.
Well, can I play you what Trump said?
Yes.
The day before that CIA report was leaked.
Please do.
Their missiles are mostly decimated. They have probably 18, 19%, but not a lot by comparison to what they had.
18, 19%. And then
He
literally...
pulled that number right out of his ballroom.
He did. But the important thing is literally they must have leaked it instantly as soon as they saw that.
Yep.
They must have gone, yeah, fuck you, mate. Here we go. Here's a CIA report. Take that.
Yes.
And that's new. They weren't doing that before.
They weren't doing that. No, there were other reports getting leaked, but
usually a month later.
Yes.
It wasn't literally instantly in response to talking points.
Yeah. So Trump is getting very, very annoyed about this. And the Wall Street Journal reported that he got this big pile of news clippings, put a post-it note with the word treason on them, and then handed them to Todd Blanche in the expectation that Todd Blanche would go after the leakers or actually go after the media outlets. That Todd Blanche is going to go to them and say, you've put national security at risk, so hand over the sources or you're going to jail.
Dave, how do we know that?
How do we know what?
That he did that. It was leaked.
It was leaked. Yes. Sorry, it took me a second to realise where you were going with that. Yes. It was leaked to the Wall Street Journal, which, by the way, has been reporting up a storm. Wall Street Journal has been one of the better reportorial outlets on this, and
has been for a long time.
Has been for a long time. Yeah, the Wall Street Journal reporting has always been very good, even as its opinion section has gone to hell.
Yes.
Washington Post is still doing very good reporting on tremendously reduced resources, and with an op-ed page that is desperately competing to be even worse than the Wall Street Journal.
Maybe that's a secret to let your op-ed page go to pot.
Yeah. Actually, I would like... Sorry, I've been invoking Bill Wyman a lot recently. I would like Bill Wyman's verdict on which is worse. Which is the worst op-ed page.
I'll ask him.
But another couple of stories that they were very upset about were, first of all, the coverage of the rescue effort for the missing airmen. They thought that was going to jeopardize the operation.
Mm-hmm.
That one, if you squint at it, you can kind of see, like, yeah, there was reporting going on
before he was rescued
about about an operation where they obviously wouldn't have wanted the enemy knowing about it. That still that doesn't though completely steamroll the First Amendment.
No, it doesn't.
or affect Americans' rights to know about how the war is actually going, which is what that reporting was actually about. But what he got really livid about was the April 7th New York Times report about how Benjamin Netanyahu had persuaded him to go to war on the back of a PowerPoint presentation.
I wonder why he cared about that one.
Yes! He was not very happy about that one.
No.
And I mean, obviously there was a lot of stuff that came afterwards as well, like John Kerry saying that, yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu's tried this with every single president, and Trump was the first one who was vain and gullible enough to go along with it. So, yeah, all of the sort of wake from that report really, really got Trump's goat.
The other one, Trump probably didn't care about this, but just the other example of what we're talking about was last week there was a pretty famous moment when Trump was talking about the weapons that America had used in the war.
Yes.
And he came up with some quite agricultural spin even for him.
No, we have more than we've ever had, actually, because all over the world we have inventory, and we can take that if we need it. But all over the world, we have tremendous amounts of inventory, the best. For instance, we're stocked and locked and loaded. Right now, we have more than double what we had when this started.
More than double. We found out pretty soon after that it would take 3.5 years, according to the US officials, to replace what was fired from their THAAD interceptors in just under 2 weeks.
Yep.
And the Army won't even begin to replace the Patriot missiles that they have fired until May 2029, and then it will take several years after that.
By the way, if anyone's wondering why Chaz referred to this as some pretty agricultural spin, that's a cricket term.
Yes, it is.
that is a cricket term for risky, amateurish, and unstylish play.
Thank you for translating.
Yes.
But yeah, now the leaks are a problem for him.
The leaks, the leaks are a real problem. So that's what he's been getting obsessed about this week.
Do you think we're coming close to a peace deal? Because when we left you last time, they just stopped Project Freedom because of the peace deal, not because the Saudi Arabians had denied access to their airfields and air. It was because of a peace deal. And if I recall correctly, Jesse Waters had cracked the code and worked out exactly what was going on here.
The president says, based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. We suspect the president is letting the Iranians save face. The enemy just yesterday said they controlled the strait. That was obviously a lie. And watching the Americans escort ship after ship out of the Gulf and them not being able to do anything about that was going to be humiliating. Not only were they going to lose whatever military prestige they had left in the region, their negotiators weren't going to be able to fight for their position after they lost their last bargaining chip. The commander-in-chief must believe that the Iranians are serious about surrendering if he's going to pause Project Freedom for the sake of a deal. Because you could also continue Project Freedom during the negotiations. You know, you do want to get these foreign ships moving. The president must know what he's doing.
He must know what he's doing, Dave.
That's the answer to my question of, is there anyone there left who still pretends to even believe this shit?
Jesse Waters.
Jesse Waters.
Yeah. Anyway, look,
Yeah.
According to Trump, this is all going to be wrapped up in a week. He specifically said that to Brett Baer.
Mm.
And I asked him what the time frame would be. He puts it at a week, getting everything wrapped up.
He would never bullshit Brett Baer.
No.
So where are we at? We got peace now?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
Unfortunately not, because so the US had this 14-point plan.
Yeah.
Which they sent to Iran through Pakistan. Iran sent their reply back through Pakistan. And Trump's response was that this was garbage.
Oh.
He didn't even finish reading it.
Oh, that's no good.
Before he threw it in the trash.
Oh, okay.
Now...
Was that him trying to help them save face? Like Jesse Waters said?
Thing is, as far as I can see, what was in that Iranian proposal were the same things that they have been insisting on for years.
The Obama deal.
Yes, in terms of their right to nuclear enrichment. Now, there were also some things brought about by the circumstances of the war, like they wanted recognition of their sovereignty over the Straits of Hormuz.
Yeah.
I can see why that's a hard sell with not just Trump, but the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Really. That is not one that people are going to rush to agree to. No. And there also the demands for compensation as well. Right? Yeah, so, there was stuff in there that was going to antagonize
when they say
Trump.
Compensation, they mean unfreeze our assets.
That's right.
Which is the Obama deal.
But the point is, they think they can ask for that. Right? They keep getting hit. They keep getting hammered. Their economy keeps getting strangled, whatever. We keep hearing from the Trump administration they are days away from collapsing. We have destroyed their whole Air Force. We've sunk their whole Navy. We've destroyed any capacity they have for making missiles, blah, 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 blah. And still, Iran is coming with not only the demands that they've been making for years about their right to nuclear enrichment, but also these demands that come specifically from this war about exercising the leverage that they now have over the Strait of Hormuz. That indicates to me that a peace deal is still some distance away.
But also, I think what would encourage them. Now, I don't know.
Is that I've learned how to say Strait of Hormuz?
That would encourage them a lot.
Yes.
I hear that was a real issue in the war.
It was. Although I did say Straits of Hormuz on ABC last week. Sorry, ABC listeners.
That's okay. I don't know if this is true or not.
Yep.
But according to Wired,
yeah,
at least.
Okay.
One of the things that might encourage Iran is that Trump already agreed to the Obama deal. I'll quote them. Last month, Trump initially gave his blessing for a so-called cash for uranium deal, under which the US would release around $20 billion in frozen funds in exchange for Iran handing over its stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Sources familiar with the matter tell Wired. Trump's negotiators, Vice President J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, received repeated approvals from the president while they were in Islamabad, giving them confidence a deal was close. But the deal unraveled, in part because Trump was warned by his team that there was a risk he could be seen as giving Iran pallets of cash, an echo of his own off-stated criticism of Barack Obama's Iran deal, and then he pulled the plug, the sources said. So the fact that he got that close, if that's true, Iran would be going, let's just not give up an inch. He's going to back down. Especially given how desperate he seems to have a deal. If he agreed to it once, they'll think, just make him a bit more desperate. He'll back down. He'll give to us again. So that's what they'd be thinking, I presume.
Yeah.
Whether they're right or not. I'm not saying they're right.
Yes.
I'm saying I could see how if they got that close, if that's true, they would be thinking that.
Yeah. Look, last night I saw this movie which wrestled very deeply with these themes of mortality and memory. It's called The Sheep Detectives. And actually my favourite bit of the movie was when there's this really crappy village fete happening and there's this policeman selling a DVD copy of Return to Oz, which we have mentioned on this. And he says it was filmed 40 miles away from here because this movie's set in England and that was filmed on the Salisbury Plain. And some people say it's even better than the original, which it is. Totally. Yeah. Anyway, I was not expecting to see a shout out to Return to Oz in Sheep Detectives. But one of the key plot points of the Sheep Detectives, which I'm not giving anything away by saying this because you learn it in the first few minutes of the movie, is that the sheep in this movie, have this incredible capacity to forget things. They can willingly forget things. And the result is that none of the sheep know about mortality because of the fact that when someone dies, they find it too upsetting. So they always just choose to forget, apart from this one sheep who cannot forget and so carries the whole burden of the memory of mortality for the whole flock.
Poor sheep.
Poor sheep, yes. But as I was watching this, it's like if only Trump just had the ability to willingly forget the Obama deal.
Yeah.
If everyone could just willingly, or at least just Trump, if he could just willingly forget that the Obama deal had ever happened, we would have an end to this war.
Yes.
We would have a peace deal.
That'd be lovely.
But I don't want to misconstrue the message of the Sheep Detective, which is that you should not forget anything.
Yes.
No matter how hard it is.
Apart from that.
Yeah, but apart from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where else do you want to go with Iran?
One thing that I want to discuss that has really become an issue in the last week. I mean, it's not the central issue, but it is a very interesting issue, which is the role of the United Arab Emirates in all of this. So we saw a couple of weeks ago, and this I think came as quite a surprise to most people, United Arab Emirates announced that it was withdrawing from OPEC.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, at the moment, things are pretty bad for the US in this war, but this will actually be a long-term helpful thing for the US. This is a major blow to OPEC. This is a major blow to the oil cartel. Over the long term, that will reduce the power of especially Saudi Arabia to be able to reduce oil prices. And a lot of this seems to be the UAE is kind of balking against Saudi Arabia at the moment. So we've seen Saudi Arabia say, as we saw in last week's mini update, that they weren't going to allow the use of air bases or airspace for the US to do Operation Project Freedom. So I insist on calling it not just Project Freedom, but Operation Project Freedom.
Of course.
Which is what its Wikipedia name is. Whereas the UAE has been basically allowing the US to do whatever it wants and has been paying the price for it. It's been getting hit really hard. The UAE seems to have been targeted more than any other Gulf state, with the possible exception of Kuwait, where there's also a lot of American activity.
Well, you know, Dave, they're very close to Israel as well, being in the Abraham Accords.
Ah, well, this is the other really interesting thing. Whereas a lot of the other Arab states, they are, they clearly, even though they're getting hit by Iran, they don't want to openly say we're going to hit back because of the fact that they don't want to be seen as siding with Israel. The UAE actually seems to be doubling down on its Israel link. Now, just to recap, the Abraham Accord it started out basically as an agreement between Israel and the UAE that was misreported widely as a peace deal, even though the two had never been at war. The two had in fact been sharing military intelligence since 2016. The Abraham Accords were signed in 2020. So that was really cementing a relationship that already existed. The big headline event was the fact that you could now fly directly from Israel to the UAE and vice versa, and you could now see Israel on the the Emirates Airlines flight map. And guess who took advantage of that recently? Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu announced that he went on a secret trip to the UAE.
On a holiday?
During the... It always just really wanted to see the Burj Khalifa.
Did he win Jeopardy or something? Okay.
No, he went to discuss the war.
Oh, okay.
And I just saw, so I'm not quite sure how clear this is, literally in the ABC on the way in, I saw on a TV a Kyron saying UAE denied that this secret visit took place, which I think trying to deny that when the Israeli Prime Minister said it, I
it's not going to work.
don't know that denial is really going to work.
They got lots of secrets, the UAE, don't they?
Well, the other secret was it turned out they were secretly attacking Iran.
That's quite a secret.
Yeah. Yes, they were secretly attacking, I can't remember the name of the island, Lavan or something?
Lavan, yeah.
Yeah, Lavan in retaliation for Iranian attacks. So they really do seem to be going in a different direction from the rest of the Arab world on this, which that is very interesting. Like, I don't know where this is going in the long term. As I say, in the long term, this will be to the benefit of the US and Israel, you would think, if they continue down this path.
It would explain why, like you say, like just now when Iran wanted to strike back when they were trying to put the pressure on America, first place they attack is the UAE.
That's right, yeah. Now, a lot of Americans are quite unhappy about the US relationship with the UAE. So Chris Van Hollen, who was just bizarrely accused by Kash Patel of slinging margaritas with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, he wanted to cut military funding to the UAE altogether. This is so there'd been long-term disquiet over the war that the UAE was fighting alongside Saudi Arabia in Yemen, which involved a lot of bombing of civilians. But also, Emirates is one of the major backers of the Rapid Response Force in Sudan, which is also committing a lot of atrocities. Yeah. So this is an interesting development. I don't know if this can affect the course of the war at all. I suspect not. But the UAE has always been different. As those of us who remember the 1996 Cricket World Cup will be able to tell you. You remember the UAE was in that?
I do.
Right? And you remember why they were in that?
No, I don't.
They changed the rules for cricket representation in the UAE to allow people from Pakistan to play for the UAE.
Okay.
So this UAE team had one Emirati who was the captain of the team, 35 years old, Sultan Zarawani.
I do remember him.
You remember what he was best known for in that World Cup?
Don't remember that.
Opening game against South Africa. He refused to wear a helmet while he was batting. He was wearing a sun hat against Alan Donald.
That's right.
Alan Donald, one of the fastest and most ferocious bowlers I've ever seen. Anyway, he got sconed in the head by Alan Donald. Not deliberately. Alan Donald was terrified that he'd killed him. To put it mildly, he was not in usual cricket shape.
Sure.
Yeah, but he survived that somehow, and he played the rest of the tournament. And then, bit of trivia, he got banned for life from Emirati cricket for criticising the governing body.
Really?
Yeah,
don't do that.
That's how they treat their sultans over there. Anyway, that was a unheralded tangent treehouse.
He just batted, didn't he?
Yeah.
He didn't bowl.
Not that I can remember, no. Yeah.
Sultan's a swing.
You're just going to use that line anyway.
Could have been the name of the pod.
Okay, but that's all I've really got left to say about that.
Okay, I'll add one more thing then.
Yes.
On your no quick end, I'm going to take that and run with it a little bit.
Yep.
First of all, I feel like you have severely undersold the attempts of the Trump administration to sell this no quick end.
Right. Yes.
You've suggested like it's a little apologetically just not mentioned.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to suggest that.
But there is some fantastic spin out there.
Yeah.
Which we really have to pay attention to. Number one from Seb Gorka.
Yep.
Dr. Seb Gorka on why the war is lasting so much longer than promised.
Yep.
Let's have a look at this. This is an impeachable spin.
How do we reconcile the original timeline with what we're dealing with now?
Well, look, there is the ancient aphorism, every plan lasts until first contact with the enemy. But there is a very simple answer to your question. We've just been too effective, along with our colleagues in Jerusalem that have effected numerous persona strikes. We have absolutely destroyed the leadership, the traditional leadership. This is a regime in ultimate collapse at the top. As a result, it makes communicating and getting that final deal, that acquiescence, that surrender, a little bit more complicated, but rest assured, it is coming imminently.
They've just been too effective. That's the reason it's taken too long, because they've just been too effective.
Yeah, as far as spin goes, it's not exactly Shane Warne. I think it reminds me of when Greg Ritchie would try to throw a couple down.
Well, try this out. This is Mike Waltz on the straight, on the fact they can't close the straight. They can't open the straight.
But, Mr. Ambassador, it was 50 days ago that President Trump posted a warning to the Iranians saying they had 48 hours to fully open without threat the strait. 50 days ago. Nothing happened, and the strait is still closed.
Well, one, Martha, I think we should take a step back. 50 days to deal with a 50-year-old problem.
Very good.
That's a wicketkeeper attempting to bowl. Not a good one either. That's Adam Perori.
Okay, let's ignore the fact the strait hasn't been closed until the last 50 days. Not for the last 50 years. Let's just ignore that. They deserve 50 more years to solve the problem, Dave. I think that's very convincing. So anyways, that's been their attempt. But the reason why they've got problems with this, in all seriousness, is because the economy is turning to shit around this
It really is.
Like, this week has been really bad.
It has been.
Inflation came in 2 days ago.
Yep.
It was not good.
No.
CPI rose 3.8% for the last 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
It rose 0.6% in April alone.
Yeah.
Which is the highest rate in 3 years. It was 2.4% before the war began in February. So it's gone up 1.4% during the war.
Yep.
And it's largely because of energy.
Yes.
No surprise. Energy climbed 3.8% just for the month after climbing 10% the month before. Up 18% for the last year.
Yeah.
Electricity is up 2.1% for the month. Gas and fuel oil are up 28%. Gas is up 28% and fuel oil is up 54% over the last year. And that's led to food prices rising because they need to be transported, obviously.
Yes.
Food at home has risen 0.7% just for the month of April, which is the largest monthly increase since, you guessed it, 2022,
Yep.
Biden's disaster year. But even when you exclude food and electricity, that's then core inflation. That's still 2.8%, which is on the high side. The thing that really hurts, though, is that wages are now being outpaced by inflation, which is back to where we were in 2022 again.
Yep.
Americans didn't like 2022, by the way.
No, they did not.
Let's have a look at the graph, Lockie. Wage growth is in blue. Inflation is orange. And for those listening, since 2023, wage growth has been about 1% higher than inflation until now, when inflation has just pipped it at 3.8% compared to 3.6% wage growth. And that is going up fast, that inflation rate. So that's really bad news for Trump. He will not want that to continue. But it's going to while the war continues.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but, okay, what is really interesting about this, and coming back to the, he's not promising a quick end to it anymore. One of the reasons, why he's not promising a quick end to it anymore is he's saying this is all going to be worth it because it's about stopping Iran getting a nuclear weapon.
Yes.
Now, I have talked endlessly by this point about the problems that come when you don't put a price on something like that. You've got even bigger problems when you're not putting a timeline on it, which you can't because it's about a country never getting a nuclear weapon.
Yes.
If that's your aim, you're committing to war forever.
Yeah, you can't guarantee it.
Yes. But his insistence that, this is what we've got to do to stop Iran from ever getting a nuclear weapon leads him to say things like this.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that motivates.
That's poorly worded.
There is no helicopter loud enough to stop that from being clipped up into a Democratic ad. We are going to be hearing that a lot. I'm not thinking about the financial situation of Americans.
Look, I know I can already hear people's eyes rolling before I even say it, which is it's going to be taken out of context. People are going to be saying that is indicative of him saying he never thinks of people's financial circumstance. And what he's actually saying is answering the question, when you're thinking about Iran, are you thinking about the financial situation? He's saying, no, I'm thinking about nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
That's him saying, I care more, when it comes to the Iran war, I'm more concerned about them having a nuclear weapon than I'm about Americans' financial situation. Not, I never, under any circumstances, ever think about Americans' financial situations. But that's how it's going to be taken.
I think that people arguing that would actually have a reasonable point. I don't think he's ever thought very much about Americans' financial situation.
To be clear, in reality, I don't think he ever thinks about Americans' financial situations. But I'm just saying that what that grab says is not that.
He thinks about the stock market a lot, but not about ordinary Americans' financial situations. And the reality of this war is this is the thing that is driving Americans' financial situations at the moment. It's not a minor contributor.
Absolutely.
To it. So, yeah, he is asking for that to be clipped up.
It wasn't a good soundbite.
And just to reiterate my point, if your whole thing is we need to keep doing this forever because that's the kind of commitment that we need from Iran, it's a forever commitment. You are basically saying, I am just committing you to a forever war.
And he keeps using this stupid talking point in different forms over and over again. This is another example of him telegraphing that he's very sensitive about the topic.
Yeah.
In a different way.
President, your promise to bring inflation down is now at its highest level in 3 years. Are your policies not working? What's happening?
Policies are working incredibly. If you go back to just before the war, for the last 3 months, inflation was at 1.7%. Now, we had a choice. Let these lunatics have a nuclear weapon. If you want to do that, then you're a stupid person, and you happen to be. I mean, I know you very well. Anybody that wants them to have a nuclear weapon is a stupid person.
Once again, he telegraphs that he's sensitive about topics.
And yeah, he does keep using this line about people being okay with Iran having a nuclear weapon. We've got to start making a list of people he's accused of being okay with Iran having a nuclear weapon, because it's not just that reporter.
No.
It's
the Pope.
The Pope.
Yes.
Germany.
Yes.
Probably every media outlet.
I feel like every time he does that,
yes,
we should, because I don't think we do this enough. We should just remind people that the choice is not you either allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon,
yes,
or you fight this war.
Yes.
Because his director of national intelligence testified to Congress that Iran wasn't even trying to make a nuclear bomb before this war. This war was unnecessary. It was a war of choice. It was a war because he thought he would be a hero.
Yep.
Like with Venezuela. And it'd be so easy
and
for
the
him.
previous year's raids on Iran.
And this is all him going back to come up with an excuse in hindsight for why he did this. It's bullshit.
It is.
They were not about to have a nuclear weapon.
No.
I agree 100% that you don't want Iran having a nuclear weapon. He's not doing anything at the moment to stop them having that nuclear weapon. He is making it more likely in the long run, not less likely.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And look, from everything we know about Trump, if Iran had been just on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon, he would have treated them very differently.
He probably would have.
He would have been treating them the way that he treated Kim Jong-un.
Yeah.
There would have been a lot of respect.
It would have been love.
Yeah.
He
would have seen them as near equals. Yeah.
By the way, when we're talking about all this inflation stuff, we should remember two things.
Yep.
Like I told you last week, analysts are expecting a big hike in gas prices in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's about to get worse.
Yep.
We're already seeing polls like this from CNN, where the share of Americans who disapprove of Trump's handling the economy, it's now 70%.
Yes.
Who disapprove.
I saw Harry Ensign going nuts about this.
I bet he did. We'll give him a rest this week. The share that approve of his performance on inflation, 26%.
Oof.
The share that
below 27.
Yes.
Wow.
The share that approve of his performance on gas prices,
Yeah.
21%.
Ugh.
So, yeah, that's before the spike.
Who is that 21%?
I don't know, man. They're hard to get a hold of, those guys. Anyway, I think we've probably done enough on that, Ryan. Do you agree?
Yep.
Okay, a little quickie. I would have saved this for after you were gone, but I want your feedback on this one because this is your area.
Yep.
Well, one of them. You got a lot of them. Dave, first of all, a data question for you.
Yes.
What percentage of grades in Harvard last year were A's?
60, big 6-0.
66, pretty good. Well done.
Okay.
What percentage were A's and A minuses?
Oh, I'm going to say 80.
84%. Very good. You are an expert in this area. 84% of marks in Harvard last year were A's or A minuses. This Stats Nugget is about grade inflation. Now, it's true that it's tougher to get into Harvard than it used to be. In the 90s, the acceptance rate was about 15%. Now it's 4%.
Yes.
But apparently, according to the teachers there is no improvement in the work. And yet the marks are quite high. There is so much grade inflation in Harvard these days that in 2025, their prize for the graduating senior with the highest GPA was a tie amongst people with perfect scores.
Yeah.
How many people, Dave?
Oh, 400.
No, not quite.
Sorry, I'm just going with big numbers.
That's
here.
right. It's 55.
Okay.
55 people shared
That is still a lot.
Their perfect score. It's not meant to work like that.
No.
Hundreds were nearly perfect,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
55 an absolutely perfect score. And look, the problem goes beyond the Ivy League. Studies show that the most common grade in the US colleges is an A across the board.
Yep.
Now, I've read a few articles about this because I find this quite interesting.
Yep.
They say there's two main reasons for this. I'm going to tell you what those articles say, and I want your opinion about whether you agree with them and if you have any other thoughts.
Yes.
And by the way, neither of those reasons are the kids of today are like snowflakes. That's not one of the reasons. One, people aren't doing courses for educational purposes anymore or for fun. They're doing it for careers. They pay a lot of money for those degrees.
Yep, absolutely.
And so students are now consumers.
Yep.
And they act like consumers.
Yep.
They're not going to waste money on courses which aren't going to get them exactly what they want.
Yep.
If a course doesn't offer a decent grade, why would you take a chance on that course and
Yes.
waste your money on it? Student reviews matter a lot for students these days, just like other consumers.
Yes.
And they don't get if you don't get good reviews, they don't enroll in your course, and they don't give good reviews to harsh markers.
No, they don't.
And also, rightly so in a way, because grade inflation makes further grade inflation essential. Because otherwise, non-inflated grades look particularly bad and screw those students up.
Yes.
Going forward. So that's the first thing, the education as a consumer good. The second thing is, who are the people who are doing all the grading at American universities? And the answer is adjuncts and graduate
That's
students.
right. I did a lot of it at Michigan.
Yes. By 2015, adjuncts, this is an amazing stat.
Yeah.
Were about 70% of the instructional workforce at universities.
That does not surprise me at all.
And they're poorly paid and they're overworked. They have no tenure. They're given annual contracts or semester contracts.
Yeah.
And they very much live and die by student evaluations.
Yep.
They don't have the time to mess around with poor grades because a bad grade that they hand out requires leaving meticulous comments explaining why.
Absolutely, yes.
It involves correcting every mistake. It involves meeting with the upset student almost
Yep.
inevitably. And
Yes.
it also often involves messing around potentially with your supervisors after they complain. That's time these guys don't have.
Yep.
And then it affects their student evaluations at the end of the semester anyway, and they get sacked.
Yes.
They're the two main reasons that these articles suggest.
Yep.
Do you agree, and do you have any others?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree with those being the major drivers. There was a very good article about this by John K. Wilson, who was writing particularly about Harvard, and he makes this really interesting point that grade inflation has always had this social context to it. He says, It began to be noticed nationally with the Vietnam War draft, when college students were exempted, but a failing grade was seen as a possible death sentence overseas. Professors reacted with more generous grades, a trend that expanded with the vast growth in students going to college. The prospect of grade inflation worried the selective service so much that they proposed removing the exemption from the draft for students ranking in the bottom half of each college, a measure that was never implemented after elite colleges opposed it. Okay, so there's always been this social context, and he says what's happening at the moment is pretty much the factors that you mentioned. The rise of the corporate university that views students as consumers to be served with the high grades they want rather than evaluated fairly. The reliance on student evaluations where high grades for students translate into high grades for their professors. And it should be mentioned, it's not just about the official student evaluations that go on. There is this website which I say is very pernicious called ratemyprofessors.com, which does public unvetted ratings.
I thought you'd love that site, Dave.
Of academics. There's also the cottage industry of people going after professors because of their their political beliefs. That these tools can be very easily used for that. Yes, as you say, the decline of tenure and use of adjuncts who fear student complaints can cost them their positions. When you say 70% of the instructional workforce is adjuncts, the percentage of the marking workforce would be higher than that. And a broader cultural shift towards valuing self-esteem that pervades education at all levels and sets expectations for high grades. Now, I think it is fair to say, so that first of all, I'm going to say there is no easy solution to this at all, because this is a very multifaceted problem. And as I say, it's always embedded in this social context. Part of the context that instructors everywhere are dealing with at the moment is, in the last 2 or 3 years, a whole class of assignments that they used to rely on, that we used to rely on, have suddenly become much, much easier to do, right? So there's a whole lot of traditional assessments, especially writing tasks, which are very easy to use AI for now. And universities initially tried to resist this, but it turns out AI is incredibly difficult to detect compared to traditional plagiarism. I think a lot of people feel that they have a feel for picking up stuff that's been written by AI, and sometimes people do. But the reality is that everyone can see, even if they can work it out now, that's going to get a lot harder. The response of many universities has actually been to implement policies saying, well, that kind of assignment, you can't stop the use of AI. So suddenly a whole class of assignments has got a lot easier for students. Another problem which you've talked about, but I do want to talk about in more depth, is there are definitely ways in which students are now just a lot better at doing certain things than they used to be. And I'm not talking about using AI to do assignments, right? So I know a lot of school teachers in Sydney. I know a lot of teachers at selective schools or schools in very good catchment areas who produce the kinds of students that I see in Sydney. And when I see the kinds of things that these high school teachers are making Year 11 and 12 students do, I think, wow, this is university standard stuff, especially in terms of critical writing exercises, independent research, and presentations. Presentations in particular. I like having students doing presentations because I think it's a really important skill for students to be able to have. Being able to talk about something is just as important as being able to write about it. So especially when I have students doing independent research, I really like having presentations as part of it. However, now increasingly when I see presentations, I'm like, I am just undermining myself here because students are so much better at doing presentations than I am, because I'm still using like the most dinosaur tools that PowerPoint has to offer, and they've got all this incredible stuff that they learned in primary school or something. So there's a whole range of tasks that students are just better at. And if you have assessments that are grounded in those kinds of tasks and those kinds of skills, you just got to accept that they're going to be better at them than they used to be. Okay. Now, I know that there are some areas in which students haven't improved, but particularly in humanities and social sciences, there's a whole class of things where students are just better now than they used to be at them. And if you want to stop grade inflation, you basically have to change your assessments in some cases to things that they're just not so good at. So there are a couple of one solution to both of these problems that I've just been talking about is traditional handwritten exams.
Yep.
Okay, so those are things that can't be done by AI. Those are things that there'd be no reason why students would be better at them now than they used to be.
Would they be worse? They'd be worse because they wouldn't be able to write.
Yeah, which
I had trouble enough writing for 2 hours. Students today, they'd get cramps.
And this poses a real dilemma for someone like me because I was bad at handwriting, and I knew that my handwriting could potentially jeopardize my marks. I gave up on cursive because my cursive was so indecipherable.
So did I.
To this day, I don't join up my writing anymore. My writing looks like it was done by a 7-year-old. So yeah, so there's that. Now, exams do have certain pedagogical benefits, though. They're very, very good at if you want to assess the content of an entire unit. They are actually really good at that. And so there are certain benefits to exams, but there are drawbacks like handwriting. But even that, I don't think is really a solution to the overall problem.
So what do you say to Harvard proposing to cap all flat A grades to around 33% across all undergraduate courses? Which is what they're saying they're going to do.
I agree with John Wilson, who I was just citing on this, which is on a very deep level, I don't like that because, there are some things where it's really appropriate to have a rigid curve, okay? And, that's a very straightforward solution to grade inflation, to say in any given course, only a certain number of students can get a certain number of marks. Like you can correct grade inflation very quickly with that. Now, that's appropriate for some courses. I'd say large first-year courses, yes, you can definitely have that marked. But when you're teaching things like upper-level seminars where, you've got to take into account the students who have made it that far are going to be self-selecting better students in a lot of ways. Or where it's something with an independent research component, which is a very important thing for students to be able to do. But as I say, which they are actually which they're very good at now. Or if it is some degree that is aimed at professional credentialing. In professional credentialing, all you want out of marks is the demonstration that somebody can do the job. Especially in professions where there are shortages, like teachers, nurses. You don't want to be knocking people out just because they're at the bottom of the curve if they can do the job.
Yeah.
Right? If the skills show that they can do the job. So there are some places, there are a lot of places where those kinds of curves are not acceptable. John Wilson also points out basically it's a violation of academic freedom. That instructors should be allowed to, to grade as they see fit, which I do definitely agree with. So, yeah, look, it's really difficult, but it probably needs to involve a whole rethink of assessment and what assessment is actually for.
I'd also say that Princeton tried to do this in 2004, and then they got rid of it a decade later. And the reason for that is because they felt, number one, it hurt student recruitment. Because why would anyone go to Princeton if they're going to have these circumstances? And it left the students who did go to Princeton feeling disadvantaged in graduate school admissions. Against the other students.
Totally.
So anything you do, if everyone doesn't do it, you're creating disadvantages compared to the other people.
That's right.
Is it like a prisoner's dilemma?
Yeah, it's a prisoner's dilemma. It's an arms race. It's whatever metaphor you want to use. By the way, there's a similar problem with letters of recommendation, where letters of recommendation for graduate school in the US are going to ask, you've got this whole set of boxes to tick about does this student, what category does this student fit into? If you want your student to have a chance, you are probably going to tick exceptional, top 1%, because it's got to the point where if you're not doing that, someone looking at a letter of recommendation is going to ask, what's wrong with this student?
Yeah.
What signal is this person trying to send by saying they're only in the top 5% rather than the top 1%? That has become such a serious problem that some places have actually done away with that altogether. They'll still look at traditional kind of letters of recommendation where the instructor actually has to say something about the student, which could be a lot more revealing. But yeah, that box ticking exercise, that is just an invitation to an arms race.
Okay, so we've got no solutions, but at least we've appreciated the complexity of the problem, which is important.
That's right. I've been accused in the past of admiring the problem too much and not coming up with solutions.
Well, now we all admire it.
Yeah.
Dave, you got a couple minutes left. I did for show before. We do have some not normals coming up, which I will be doing after the white flash.
Yes.
I won't subject you to my run through of Trump's 17 worst tweets from Sunday night.
Oh, Jesus.
That's coming for the people after the white flash. But I know you had a not normal you wanted to do.
Yes.
Which was about the reflecting pool.
The reflecting pool.
So you do it and then you can go and leave me to continue on.
Think about the name reflecting pool. What does that mean to you? Does it mean a pool that reflects so that when you look at it, you would be able to see a reflection that resembles the thing that's being reflected? Do you think of that? Or do you think of like the infinity pool at Marina Bay Sands?
I'm guessing you don't like the blue paint. So I don't want to spoiler here. Keep going, Dave.
Yes, so Trump has decided that the reflecting pool, which was built in the 1920s as a way of connecting the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument.
Yes.
So the two monuments, commemorating what are widely considered the two greatest presidents in US history. Trump wants to turn that into something that more resembles a hotel swimming pool.
He wants the bottom to be blue.
He wants the bottom to be blue.
He's sick of it being scungy, and he thinks the answer
is
to just colour it blue.
That's right.
That's right.
Now,
American flag blue, Dave.
American flag blue. Now, he's not the first person to notice that there are problems with the reflecting pool. It has apparently never been particularly well built.
No.
It leaks millions of gallons of water a year. Yeah, it needs to be constantly maintained.
Obama closed it down for 2 years and it cost $34 million.
And they still didn't fix the problem.
No.
Right. So it's not like there is no problem there. Let's give that to Trump.
Yeah.
It's not like he's taken some perfect thing
Yeah.
and just destroyed it. No, there is an actual problem there. But just remembering, 2 years and how many billion did the Obama administration spend on it?
It's $34 million.
34 million.
Yeah.
Yes. That didn't fix it.
Nope.
Trump wants to fix it before America's birthday.
Yep. In a few weeks.
On July 4th. And he wants to paint the bottom blue.
Yes.
Yes.
Originally, it was budgeted for he said, for $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Now it's at $13 million, which is still cheaper than Obama.
Yes.
And it's still only for a few weeks.
Yeah.
If it does the job.
Yeah. They're already talking about cracks in the material.
Yeah. Also, Biden considered apparently doing it properly.
Yeah.
And they came up with a budget of $301 million.
Yeah.
And so they decided not to do it.
Anyway, yeah. Cheapness always wins out apart from the military. Anyway, so yes, you may well have seen the AI-generated image of Trump and Vance and unnamed woman bathing in the pool. But
you can tell that it's an AI picture of Trump because he's much thinner and younger looking.
Yes.
I don't even know who the woman is.
You're not supposed to know who she is. Yeah. Okay, this is...
I have seen the image from when Trump crashed out on Truth Social of Obama and Biden and Pelosi swimming in sewage.
That was the response image.
Yes.
But anyway, the contract for this went to a company called Atlantic Industrial Coatings.
Yes.
Which Trump claimed had done a really good job with one of his swimming pools in Virginia.
His golf club. Yeah.
His golf club. Now, that just sounds like typical Trump shit. Anyway, so the New York Times revealed it was a no-bid contract because it was supposedly an emergency. This is what,
Yes, that's right. He says emergency, but he didn't say why it was an emergency.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then weird stuff started to happen.
Yes.
Which was the New York Times started to ask Atlantic Industrial Coatings about their experience with fixing swimming pools.
I haven't heard this.
And they, in fact, said they had no experience with fixing swimming pools.
So they didn't do the golf club?
No.
So are these just donors or something?
I don't know.
These buddies?
Well, this is the thing. Now Trump is claiming that he doesn't know who they are.
Really?
Yes.
I totally missed this.
Yeah, he said that the Department of the Interior handed out the contract.
Dude, honestly, I was preparing to do one of those things where I go, you know what? I disagree with you on this one, Dave. I reckon I don't give a shit about the reflecting pool. And if they don't like the blue paint, they can just paint it something else. Like the next president can paint something. It's not like the ballroom where he's destroyed something.
Yeah.
You know, like this. But you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that now because this is all bullshit. I had no idea.
It is all, actually, sorry, let me just correct myself.
Yeah.
Atlantic Industrial Coatings refused to comment on whether they had ever fixed a swimming pool before. They said that was confidential.
Okay.
But the New York Times could find no record, no evidence that they had ever fixed a swimming pool
Look,
before.
that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is all a bit weird. So Trump goes from saying that he called up some guy who worked on his swimming pool and said, yeah, can you do this within 6 weeks? And he's, yeah, Mr. President, yes, I can paint this pool blue within 6 weeks, right? Very typical Trump story. We go from that to, for some reason, Trump has chosen a company that has never done a swimming pool before. And from that to Trump denies even knowing who they are.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway,
that's
happy birthday, America. You're welcome. Yeah. I feel like when someone writes the definitive book about the second Trump presidency, it should be called You're Welcome. And make sure that you spell your Y-O-U-R.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. That's wonderful, Dave. Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
I had no idea, so I really appreciate that one.
Very happy to leave you on that note.
Yep.
I'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week, Dave. I'll see you guys after the White Flash, and we got a few more not normals.
Not normals.
And we got there's heaps of stuff we haven't got to yet, which we're going to cover. I'm not sure, Lockie, we're going to have time for more Ice Chronicles because we've got so much stuff from this week we still got to do. Oh, dude, there's so much depressing stuff I've got to do on ice. I might have to do an entire bonus episode
called Chaz on Ice.
The most depressing episode ever, me on ice. That's a great idea. I don't think a supervisor's going to agree to this. but anyway, see you guys at the White Flash, Dave. Till next week.
Stay peppy.
Stay peppy. Welcome to the other side of the White Flash. This is Chaz Unleashed.
With Lockie, the Lackey, High Peppers.
That is the one. Now, we're not going to be doing any correspondence today. I apologize. There will be a correspondence extra next week. I didn't do one this week because, honestly, I was 500 articles behind. I'm sorry. There will be a correspondence extra. I can tell you that. And no Ice Chronicles today, or Chaz on Ice, as Dave calls it, because there's just too much to go through. But there's a lot more coming in that mode of depression, I assure you. But let's get right into it. Updates. Overnight, this is, of course, Friday, not Thursday now. We are recording this pretty soon before you're going to be seeing it. Overnight, I read about Nebraska. They had a Democrat primary. I have told you about this before, so this should be a pretty quick update. I told you about how Dan Osborne is the independent, who's kind of a slightly left-leaning independent, a bit of a unionist, kind of Labor kind of guy. He has much more chance of winning in Nebraska in the Senate seat than the Democrat does. The Democrat has zero chance. He has almost bugger all chance, but that is better than zero. So Democrats aren't running against him to give him any chance at all. But they still have a primary. And the reason they have a primary is because someone went for the primary. You have to at least make it available. A guy called William Forbes was running in the Democratic primary, and the Democrats were almost certain that he was put up by the Republican to create some kind of resistance to Dan Osborne.
No, but he turned up wearing an I am a Democrat shirt. He's fine.
Very convincing stuff, even though he multiple votes for Trump, and on Facebook he's talking about pro-life stuff and all the rest of it. Very convincing. Anyway, the Democrats ended up running someone, Cindy Burbank, against him just so he could lose and then she could drop out to allow Dan Osborne to run unopposed. She won with 90% of the vote in the Democratic primary. So they pulled that off. William Forbes did not get his way. And so now Dan Osborne is going to run uninterrupted. So that's one more potential option for the Democrats in November. Yet
another classic story of the up-and-coming Democrats taken out by the
machine.
The machine.
Yes.
You hate to hear it.
He's not going to be the 51st vote in the Senate. If they win Nebraska, they've probably already won the Senate. Dan Osborne, if he wins, he's going to be the 52nd or 53rd seat. So it would be an all-time shellacking, which is possible given what we just talked about with inflation, which leads me to the next update. If you thought the inflation was bad enough that I talked about in the main PEP yesterday, I then go home and read about the latest inflation figure that came out, which is the PPI figure. I have described that to you before. The PPI is what the producers are paying. So it's the inflation not of what the consumers are paying.
For what I pay.
But are you a producer? Oh, yes, of course. Yes. The podcast producers when they get my Subway salads.
Tell me what your salads from anywhere.
What you're paying, let me tell you. If you think you're paying a lot, Lucky, you're right. Because let's bring up the graph. What it's showing you is that in the month of April, the producers had an inflation of 1.4%. 1.4%. So that's like 16% as an annual rate. That's a lot of inflation, right?
Oh.
And it was only projected to be 0.5%. So that's that's more than 10% on an annual basis, more than was projected. So if you have a look, it went up in the last month when they were counting just the first part of the war. But now you got a whole month of war. It's gone up a massive amount. So if this war continues on for another 3 weeks or whatever, it's going to be another huge chunk. And you don't get that back. Like once the price goes up, it stays up. If the producers index is going up by 1.4%, that means that's the wholesalers. They're the people behind the scenes. It means the consumers will be paying that down the road, right? So just not this month, but maybe next month, maybe the month after that. So that means there's baked into the cake a lot more inflation coming, and it's going to get so much worse if this war continues. So
don't worry, Peppers. I won't send any of those costs your way.
Oh, look,
you're welcome.
I'm sure they'd be able to spot you an extra 10 or 15% on what you're already charging them. Lucky. Point is, lots of inflation. Okay. Next, another update. This is actually, when I say update, this is like 2 weeks old. This has been sitting in my notes, and I just want to get it out. This is what I call affectionately the sex pest update. We've heard a little bit more about Eric Swalwell in the last 3 weeks.
God, it's terrible that I didn't know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it could be so many.
Yeah.
He's done. We can all agree on that. He's resigned from both the California governor's race and Congress, and he's not coming back to either. But the exposés of him haven't stopped. CNN ran a piece about 2 weeks ago now with slightly lower level offences than what the stuff that we already heard about. So it's not so much sexual assault. It's more sexual pestery.
Sure.
Right? Like texting and that kind of stuff. 12 women said that Swalwell had harassed them with flirty Snapchat messages. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying it's not rape, right? One woman said, for example, he would Snapchat me. He'd be like, what do you want to do with your future? And then he'd be like, what are you wearing right now? Smooth. Yeah. There was another example where Swalwell allegedly took a woman's purse, got on an elevator and forced her to follow him to get her purse. And he sort of took her back to his room, right, like by carrying her purse. When she got the purse, she apparently screamed at him, and that's it. And then she walked away.
Sure.
So that's a nuisance. That's bad.
Weird.
But it's not as bad as the stuff we'd already talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why am I backing over this? The reason why is because of a newer element, which I just find incredible, which I think says everything you need to know about Eric Swalwell. Imagine you are Eric Swalwell for a moment. Imagine that you like grabbing people's purses and then taking them back to your room and going, do you want your purse? Come have sex with me.
Glad you said purses.
Yeah. Yes. Just imagine. You've resigned. It's over. It's done. You're done.
I'm out.
You're on a big holiday, right? Okay. Like your name is mud. Every time you open the newspaper, you're seeing more allegations about yourself. Imagining that, okay? All right. Then CNN contacts your lawyer, Sarah Azari, about unwanted text messages that you sent various women in the past. Text messages that they have saved. They've saved the text messages, so there's proof that you have been harassing these women, right? Okay. What are you going to do, Lockie? How are you going to respond to this? What are you going to do? You're Eric.
I'm Eric.
Yes.
So coming clean and apologizing is off the table.
Unlikely. Yeah.
That was my only guess.
Look, there are other options. You could shut the fuck up. That would be an option that I'd probably take if I was Eric.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I'd probably do nothing. I'd probably just open the next box set and just keep on watching the TV shows I've missed for the past few years. That's what I'd probably do if I was Eric.
Oh, God.
Right. And,
sure. Yep. That's what Eric's doing.
That's not what Eric is doing. What Eric is doing the night after CNN spoke with Azari about the woman's claims. Swalwell.
He's not countersuing, is he?
No. He's just sent them messages at 2 a.m. asking why they'd screenshotted his chats and sent them to CNN. He's recriminating them about revealing his texts.
Yeah.
Like, well, what's that all about? No, I didn't mean anything by it. What are you doing? I'm not sure that's what he said, but that's why I'm visualizing.
Yeah, right.
Oh, come on. No, I didn't mean anything by that. Just being nice. Just being friendly like. Oh, come on. Dubber.
You didn't want your purse anyway.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what he thinks he's going to achieve.
Yeah.
But the guy is such a worm that he is still trying to intimidate and or gaslight these women, which is incredible. But I just want to share it, just in case there's anyone with any sympathy for Eric Swalwell. He doesn't deserve it. So that's an update.
Yeah, good.
You can stop being Eric Swalwell now, Lucky, I'm glad to say.
Oh, wow. Sorry, I went real method there. Texted all of my exes.
Okay, now I'm not doing any Ice Chronicles or Chaz on Ice today, like I said, but part of the reason is because I'm so keen to do something else that's depressing, which is my second favourite topic that I never get to, other than my favourite topic, which is immigration. My second favourite topic are the drug boats. The people being murdered all the time on the open seas.
All the time?
This is the thing. You might think, oh, that was September, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's now. There were 3 strikes this week, Lockie. 3 more. There's constantly in the background more strikes going on in the Caribbean.
Okay, I'm gonna let you tell a story, but I've got so many questions now.
Yeah. 3 of them during the week, bringing the total number of attacks to 57 now, with 192 people who have been killed so far. I'll keep on telling the story, but you're welcome to ask a question.
Where? What? I thought we did Venezuela so that there was no drugs.
No,
so they don't even have an excuse anymore.
No, well, they didn't really have an excuse to begin with, but yeah, that's a great point. That's an excellent point. I thought we dealt with the source of all these drugs.
Yeah,
apparently not, because they're still just they don't have an excuse. So they just go, narco terrorists. There's never any logic to it. Like the logic you're saying there, you make a good point.
Yeah, okay. If they were consistent with their excuse.
I mean, if they were literally genuinely trying to stop narco terrorists from Venezuela, they would have evidence, but also they'd be stopping people who were supposedly trafficking fentanyl.
Right, yeah, sorry, there was no...
Not cocaine.
Yeah.
Or marijuana. And they'd be taking out people who are coming to America, not Europe. Right, so there's no real logic. There's never been any real logic to this. All they need is just to say the word narco-terrorists, and that will do. Because then when you defend them, you're on the side of the narco terrorists, are you? Oh, I see. You lefties, you just love terrorists. That's what that is. Oh, you just love drug smugglers and narco terrorists. That's what it is. That's all they want to do.
Sure.
And that's all they do. 192 deaths, completely unauthorized by Congress. 192 people who aren't even soldiers. They're not even terrorists. They're at worst, they're drug smugglers. We don't know because there's no evidence. By the way, drug smuggling is not a capital offence. Let's say they were drug smugglers. Let's just say they're on these boats with little signs around their necks saying, I am a drug smuggler. So there's no doubt that they're drug smugglers when you blow them up. You don't get the death penalty for smuggling drugs. That's not how it works. Especially if you're not smuggling drugs to America, which most of them we've established are, if they're smuggling drugs from that part of the world, it's going to Europe, not to America. It's not a crime in America to smuggle drugs to Europe. So they're killing people who, even if they are guilty of what they accuse them of, are not committing a crime in America.
You're welcome, Europe.
That's the thing. Europe doesn't like it. Europe has explicitly said, stop doing that. So
because they love drugs.
Because they love the narco terrorists.
Yep.
Yeah, you're on the side of terrorists. Trump gave them the death penalty for no apparent reason. And by the way, I'll tell you how you know these are super dodgy. Because if you're going, they mean well.
In case you had the benefit of the doubt still.
Yeah. Unless you do, let me tell you how you know they're super dodgy. They don't take survivors. And there are survivors. There are. I backed over in a big way a few months back how disgusted I was by the double tap strike, the original strike.
Yes.
When they struck the boat and then a few people survived and then they struck it again just to make sure they backed over these people, make sure they all died. And that was pretty bad. That was a war crime. Since then, they haven't done that. That's the only time they've done that we know of. But there have been 16 people who have survived these attacks so far. And they've never taken one of them. A few have been left to just rot at sea and just die. I don't think that's a crime, but it's pretty scummy. 2 were rescued by the Navy. That was probably a mistake on their part for their careers, but they did rescue them. But then they released them back to Ecuador and Colombia, who didn't even charge them because there's no evidence against them. They just let them go. Does that seem odd to you? That they picked them up and then rather than jail these narco terrorists, they send them home to be set free so they can continue their narco terrorist ways. Does that seem odd?
Yes.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? I mean, it's not just they let them go to Ecuador and Colombia. They picked them up. They had them in their custody and they flew them to Ecuador and Colombia. If you picked up a terrorist who'd murdered a bunch of Americans, if you're in the army, do you think you'd just chauffeur them home and let them go?
I think that it's kind of consistent with the bee in Trump's bonnet is that all of these countries are freeing their drug criminals and letting them escape into America. He's getting revenge by sending the drug criminals back.
That might be the logic. It's pretty strained. It's a good try, though.
No more than what we've heard on the rest of this podcast.
That is true. That's true. Look, I will accept that you are now being Pete Hegseth. I would argue that is the proof that they aren't for real.
Yeah.
That's what I would argue. I would argue the fact they had them in custody and they chauffeured them back home and let them go tells you they don't want to take them back to America because they know they can't prove any of this in court. The last thing they want is for these guys to get to a court.
Right.
Because then it will expose that they're full of shit. The first thing they'll do when they go to court is go, what evidence do you have that these are drug smugglers? It's the first thing they will ask. And these guys will go, I don't know. And so then that will expose that they're full of shit. And these 192 people have died for no reason whatsoever.
In Pete Hegseth's defense, it is really hard to check what knuckle tattoos people have from the Hellfire boats.
That's true. They don't have quite the resolution on their satellite cameras yet.
Or the live Photoshop.
Yes. I will bet you a shiny dollar, Lucky, that none of these people are ever going to end up in an American courtroom. None.
No.
For exactly that reason.
I'll get my shiniest dollar ready.
I would love some evidence of crimes committed by these people, of anything really. I don't even need narco-terrorism crimes and narco-terrorism evidence, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, narco-terrorism. Anyway, any crime I'd like to see evidence of. Any crime. But right now, Trump's explanations are somewhat more basic than that.
With respect to drugs coming in by sea, meaning drugs coming in by water, by the ocean, by the sea. A lot of people don't know what I mean by sea. They think I'm talking about vision. I'm not. I'm talking about sea, like the sea.
I'm glad we could get that sorted out, at least. When Trump does bother to explain more than what the sea means, he usually says something like this.
Drugs entering our country by sea are down 97%.
Now, is that down 97% by his math or by normal math?
By RFK maths?
Because
that's not much. 97%.
It should be 9,700%.
Yeah, 97%. That's like, by our maths, that's like 5% down. That's a great question.
No one's talking about the deflation of Trump's numbers.
That's a great question. You really have gotten in their minds. That is fantastic. That's eerie. According to the acting Assistant Secretary of War for Homeland Defense and America's Security Affairs, Joseph Humere, that's not true, the 97%. You'll be shocked to hear. He says, this guy's in the Trump administration right now, okay? He's not some disgruntled ex-employee. He says there's been a 20% reduction of movements of drug vessels in the Caribbean and an additional 25% reduction in the Eastern Pacific. That's his testimony to a committee.
Yet another virtual treason committer.
Don't get me wrong, that's still a reduction. That is a reduction. That's an improvement. Well, not the killing people bit, but just if there are less drug boats, that's great. But we all know what's happening. They're taking a different route. There's more than one route you can travel in a boat, Lucky.
Of course, right, yeah.
They're going somewhere else. In October last year, a senior customs source in Trinidad and Tobago told Insight Crime the overall flows remain steady, but drug shipments have been diverted to less patrolled sea lanes, more isolated beaches, or via land transshipment points in small island nations. This was a month after they started killing people. There was also an uptick in unregistered flights through Guyana and an increase in the use of Amazon River routes and cargo vessels. So they're just moving drugs by different ways, which of course drug cartels will do. They've got 1,000 different ways they can move drugs. If you make one inconvenient for them, and that's all this is, inconvenient. They don't care if you kill some fishermen, right? If you make it inconvenient for them, they'll just send it by some other way.
And pass the cost on to the consumer.
It's inflation. That's the PPI. We're talking about cocaine producers. And you know that the drugs, they're still coming in by the ocean in some capacity because they're interdicting more of them than ever. The Coast Guard seized over 511,000 pounds of cocaine in 2025, 3 times their annual average. 3 times.
Are they looking 3 times harder? That's not a joke, are they?
No. Look, they may be.
Sure.
I'm not sure 3 times, but they may be looking harder. And some people would say, yeah, well, look, this just shows how good Trump is at finding drugs. Maybe, but generally speaking, people assume that law enforcement are always looking for drugs, and the more you find, usually that's a sign that there's more of it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a constant percentage that gets seized.
Okay.
Is the assumption. Now look, that's an assumption. And you're right. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were looking just that little bit harder. But 3 times? I don't think so. At the very least, it suggests that there isn't less of it. And by the way, I'm only going to talk about cocaine here because there's no fentanyl coming from Venezuela. Like, everyone has agreed on that. Venezuela does not do fentanyl, okay? They do cocaine. I wish the administration would stop pretending otherwise. If you say, okay, the boat killing started in September, you just gave us 2025 numbers. That's just the last 3 months was affected by the boat killings. Okay, fine. August to March, they seized more than 215,000 pounds of cocaine at sea. So that's That's basically since the killings. And that is basically the same rate as there was before. So nothing's changed. There is one complication, though. Most of these drugs in this region, as we keep saying, are going to Europe, not America. So maybe they're cracking down on the cocaine going to America. No. Drugs actually intercepted on the border. I got numbers for them as well. Cocaine seized at all US borders in the 7 months before the strikes began was 38,000 pounds. In the 7 months since, it's 44,000 pounds. It's gone up. It's gone up. So, more proof that they aren't making an impact on the drug supply in America. And there's more proof still. And this is the ultimate proof.
Okay.
The price of cocaine.
Here we go.
It's just about the only thing that hasn't gone up in America, as it turns out. I will quote Rear Admiral William Baumgartner here. If you're wondering who the hell is Rear Admiral William Baumgartner,
you can't be Rear Baumgartner. That's you're being silly.
I am not. He is the former commander of the 7th Coast Guard District. He was not made up by Benny Hill. He's the one who oversaw drug interdiction operations in the southeast US and the Caribbean basin before. It was his job. He says, quote, the Coast Guard recently seized 1.2 tonnes of cocaine and reported a wholesale value of $19.3 million. This works out to be about a $16,500 per kilo wholesale price, which does not reflect the major jump in price you would expect if you really had 97% reduction in flow. I'd expect a significant spike in prices with even a 20% reduction in the cocaine flow. I wish I could find out what the before price was. I can't find it out. I looked for it. Let's just take his word for it. It's not much. There's not much difference. But I don't know what the exact number was. Sadly, we'll have to take Rear Admiral William Baumgartner's view.
Peppers, if you have any idea what the previous street cost was, don't say anything.
That's right. You may find a bomb in your backyard if you do. Now, I should say, to be fair, this administration has reduced fentanyl seizures on the border. That's not being smarts. They have.
Sure.
There were 27,000 pounds seized in the fiscal year 2023, 21.9 thousand pounds seized in fiscal year 2024, 12,000 pounds seized in fiscal year 2025, and 6 months into the fiscal year now, there's 6,000 pounds seized again. So it has been going down since 2023 at least. So it's not just Trump, but it did go down under Trump as well. Although note, the big drop was between October 2024 and September 2025. When you know with fiscal years, it can get a bit complicated. Compared to October 2023 to September 2024. Now, that suggests that probably Trump does deserve some credit, or the Trump administration deserves some credit, because they're saying basically go back 4 months from the end of Biden. The 12 months before that was a lot more than the 12 months after that. 8 months of Trump. Okay? Fair. Let's give him some credit. But what we won't give credit to are the drug killings, because they started in the next fiscal year. And the rate after September 2024 is exactly the same as it was before September 2024. It hasn't gone down. It went down in the second last year of Biden to the last year of Biden. Went down a lot between the last year of Biden and the first year of Trump. But then when the killings started, it stayed exactly the same. Okay, so the killings have made zero difference to that interception of fentanyl, which is not a surprise because it's not fentanyl. Okay? I'll tell you what else has gone down in the last little while. Drug enforcement budgets. If they really cared about drug enforcement, they might pay the Drug Enforcement Administration to try and crack down on drugs. Their staff has dropped by about 6% since 2024. More than 5,000 FBI and DEA agents have been reassigned from combating drug cartels to, you guessed it, immigration enforcement.
Okay, yep.
That's what they care about. They don't care about drugs. They care about immigration. Right? And they're using this as an excuse to kill people to look tough. That's what this is about, looking tough, right? They also entirely disbanded the organised crime drug enforcement task forces, which is not something you disband if you cared about stopping drugs. Also, federal prosecutors are focusing on immigration now instead of drugs. By October 2025, about 10% fewer people had been prosecuted for drug violations compared to the same period of 2024, court records show. So we're talking about the first 10 months of 2025, 10% fewer people have been prosecuted than the first 10 months of 2024. Biden prosecuted more drug dealers than Trump did. Okay?
Wow.
They're talking 1,200 cases fewer, that is. That's a lot. It's the slowest rate since the late 1990s. So not just Biden cared more about drugs than Trump does, but so did Obama, and so did Bush, and so did Trump 1 over Trump 2. Okay? Good. And you know how they removed Maduro because he was a supposed narco-terrorist? Remember that?
I do.
Yeah, okay. Well, the Interior Minister, who was part of all the same deals, was left untouched. He's still there as their Interior Minister. This guy, Diosdado Cabello. He was indicted. He was in the same indictment as Maduro. And he was there having, quote, partnered with some of the most violent and prolific drug traffickers and narco-terrorists in the world and relied on corrupt officials throughout the region to distribute tons of cocaine to the United States. That's what they said in the indictment about him. They just left him there. They didn't give us stuff. Neither did they care about the approximately 100 people pardoned by Trump in the last 15 months accused of drug-related crimes, including kingpins, like the full and unconditional pardon that Trump gave to former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who had been sentenced to 45 years in prison after being convicted in 2024 for using his office to smuggle 400 tons of cocaine to the US. So this dude was convicted of 45 years worth of offences in 2024, and 1 year later, he is given a full and unconditional pardon by Trump. Obviously, it was because Biden was the president when he was convicted, like Biden was the prosecutor or something. He's not Matlock, even though he's as old as Matlock. This is from someone who supposedly cares about drugs. The bottom line, I got doubts about that 97% figure of Trump's. And this whole practice, I think, is still the worst thing the administration does, other than its immigration management. We'll get back to the ICE Chronicles soon. So this sucks, which is why this is my second favourite topic to talk about. Got any thoughts, Lucky, there?
I miss Pam Bondi because if she was here, she could tell the media exactly how many lives have been saved.
How many billions of lives have been saved, how many trillions of lives have been saved. And this thing's growing, by the way, because the whole Mark Kelly, Pete Hegseth stoush we've talked about a few times before, that's over these killings. When Mark Kelly first recorded that video saying you shouldn't follow illegal orders, he's clearly referring to this. Like, you shouldn't be blowing up fishermen who you think might be drug dealers. Yeah. He won't admit he was talking about that, but he clearly was. And Hegseth tried to punish him, didn't pull it off. The court said, you can't do that. This is freedom of speech. He's allowed to say that. And then Hegseth tried to get he asked his Navy secretary to investigate whether he should be punished. And the Navy secretary said to Hegseth, well, I can't do it. Court order. And Hegseth said, no, well, you ignore the court. You just punish him anyway. And he's like, illegal orders? I don't think I should be doing that. And so the Navy secretary got sacked. And now they're still fighting about nothing. Now about Iran. It's going on and on and on. This Kelly versus Hegseth thing. I'm sure this is going to end up. This is an appeals court, by the way. The original legal orders video, Hegseth trying to punish Kelly for that is into the appeals court. He's gonna take the Supreme Court, and he's gonna lose because if there's one thing the Supreme Court care about other than Republicans winning elections, it's free speech. They actually do care about free speech. There's no way Hegseth's going to win this. And so this is going to be a pretty big deal when he loses, when he becomes the figurehead of the administration trampling free speech, which, as you recall, when they won election, was one of their major points. We're going to be the free speech administration. The Biden administration was against free speech. And they're going to lose in the Supreme Court over this. You watch. So anyway, this is just growing and growing and growing. And I hate this whole story, which is why I love talking about it. And I spent so long talking about that. I'm not going to talk about the tariffs. I'll save that for next week. I'm going to get into a couple more not normals, and then we'll get out of here because I'm looking at the clock.
Let's rock.
First of all, Trump Twitter, because I've already teased this. This is not normal 101, Trump's Twitter, but we haven't done it before. Trump on Truth Social. If you want to lose all faith in humanity, I advise you look at Trump's feed on Truth Social. It is amazing. And check out the comments if you want to really hate the world. I'm spoiled for choice here, but so much of his worst stuff comes in the form of fake news videos. Usually made with AI. It would take ages to explain them to you. So I'm going to stick to one area where it's easiest to show you. It was a crash out he had the other day, Sunday, actually. He tweeted 17 times in 9 minutes. And every single one of those tweets, just wait, every one of them, 17 in a row, were just AI pics saying how Trump is the greatest ever.
Oh,
I'm going to show you every one of them, Lockie. You're going to love it. And if you're listening, I think it's worth watching the video at this moment because it's important to take in the full majesty of Trump's mental issues. I want you to imagine what kind of person would tweet all of these in a row and not feel embarrassed. I want to ask you, should a person with this little balance be president? Let's go. Hit it, Lockie. We start with this picture of Trump with serious camel toe neck. And it says, he's the only person I trust in DC right now. I'm a Trumplican. Then we go to Trump's the real deal. True American badass. And I'll tell you what I like about this picture, Lockie. If you have a look at the look on his face, he's looking at the camera kind of annoyed, a little bit creeped out, exactly like you would expect he would if he saw this tweeter in real life. He looks to me like he's literally about to call security. It's perfect. Next one. CNN poll. Trump surpasses Ronald Reagan as most beloved president amongst Republicans. Yeah, that one's actually probably true. What was that doing there? Anyway, on we go. Start arresting poll workers that cheated in elections and watch how fast they tell you who told them to cheat. I like the honesty of this one, that they just have a photo of poll workers just working. Great. Let's arrest them. Next one. Donald Trump is now ranked among the top 3 presidents in U.S. history. Do you agree with this ranking? What does that even mean? Who ranked him? Next one. America loves Donald Trump.
Oh, that's weird.
And we see Trump pouting with lots of hearts around him. Let's go to the next one fast. One of the worst fonts I've ever seen here. Look at that font, Lockie. I don't know if you ever use that font. Presidents come and go, but he, and that's with a capital H, by the way, like people do with God, he will be forever be remembered as the GOAT. Bit of syntax issues there. And that, by the way, is over the same photo
from before
that the same account used like 3 tweets back. Next one. Build the ballroom. And is that ballroom on fire, Lockie? It looks like it's on fire. No wonder they need so much security in this ballroom. This one's great, this next one. Thank God for Trump. And Trump looks about 20 years younger, much better looking. He's got doves flying out of his ear. Another one coming up. Terrible series of fonts we got here. Trump standing in front of a wall with Trump on it. It's like Trump squared. And it says, the greatest of all time. Over 80 million voters will never leave him. Re-truth if you would vote for him a 4th time. And this is my favourite bit, Lockie. Guess how many people re-truth that?
60 million.
195. You might need a few more votes than that, folks. Next one. We got Trump in front of a gathering dark cloud kind of landscape. I used to think Trump was just a great president. But after watching the media, the FBI, and the entire system unite against one man, I realized something. You don't get attacked like that unless you're a threat. That's when I knew he's the greatest of all time. Does that make Reagan, the breakdancer, the greatest of all time? She got attacked a lot. Next one, a very AI-generated Trump that we see here with the words, the greatest of all time. Again, that's the 3rd straight greatest of all time for those keeping count. We're down to 66 retruths though on this one, so the people are getting a little bit bored with these greatest of all times. Next one. Things are moving along nicely for America's 250th birthday in July, and we're seeing Trump's head being added to Mount Rushmore. I think that's Trump. You can just see the hair. He might be Jimmy Carter from the 70s. I don't know. Next one. We got Trump and Biden, and it's captioned, the greatest versus the worst.
Zing.
Got him. Next one. We see the back of a car with a giant poster that reads, Trump is without a doubt the greatest president we have ever known.
I don't think that's road safe.
No, well, that's the thing. He's blocking off his rear vision mirror, isn't he? Which is good, because it means if someone comes up to read the poster, they might get run over. Next. Okay, so we got the same...
Yep, same
exact
picture.
same picture, but the same
Oh,
wording.
it's the same.
It's exactly the same as the one we read about 4 or 5 minutes ago. Donald Trump is now ranked among the top 3 presidents of U.S. history. Do you agree with this ranking? I don't know if that means Trump thinks it's so good he wants to emphasize it. Maybe they're not getting enough rankings or feedback on the rankings.
Gee, those are 6 minutes apart.
Yeah. Maybe his brain worms are so advanced he's already forgotten. They retruthed it 6 minutes ago. Man. And then finally, we got some old-timey dude in a suit and beard pointing to a sign. Do you think it's J.D. Vance?
I do think he thinks that's J.D. Vance. It absolutely looks like
He's
J.D.
way too thin for J.D. Vance. But that is the way with these tweets. The sign reads, things Democrats have in 2026. No solutions, no policies, no integrity, no leadership, no talent, no hope, no joy, no love for America. Surely it's things they don't have rather than things they do have. But anyway, you know what? I'm grateful it's not saying that Trump is the greatest of all time, just for once. So that was 9 minutes. They were all in 9 minutes.
Wow.
Lucky. How much of a wasteland must this guy be? Just to be clear, I told you it's Sunday. Do you know what Sunday is also known as?
The Lord's Day?
Mother's Day.
Oh.
Trump didn't tweet about mothers once. He didn't even say Happy Mother's Day. 0 mention of mothers, 17 mentions of him being the greatest in 9 minutes.
Weren't a lot of those tweets from the Women for Trump
That's
account?
right. That's they weren't so much focused on being mothers for the day. They were focused on just Trump as the greatest. Yeah, that's his tribute to the mums, retweeting their tweets about how good he is. Lockie, that's not normal. While we're talking about this, I might just drop this poll here. The Washington Post ABC Ipsos poll. Share of US respondents who indicate that Trump does not have the mental sharpness it takes to lead the country. 59%, Lucky. 59%. That's more than just Democrats.
That's big, yeah.
Let me compare that to the CBS YouGov poll directly after Joe Biden's debate, when the man couldn't even string a sentence together.
What did he get?
Those who said Joe Biden lacked the mental and cognitive health to serve as president, 65%.
Oh, he's close.
He's real close.
Whoa.
59% to 65%. And that was at Joe Biden's nadir. Just keep an eye on that one. I do need to put a big to be fair here, because I did give a thank you. I did give a huge run up on that one. So I do need to qualify this. Last night, I'd already written this. This was for yesterday's PEP. So I'd already done this. And I was all excited. And then I read something that made me feel a little bit guilty. I thought, shit, I got to mention this. There's an article in the Wall Street Journal who, as Dave said, is killing it. And the article's about a young woman called Natalie Harp, who is a Trump executive assistant. Now, Harp is causing a lot of heartache amongst Republicans at the moment because she is only answerable to Trump. She will not deal with his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, or any of the people who are supposed to help /mind Trump at the moment. And the reason people are worried about her is because they say she is single-handedly hurting Trump's reputation more than anyone else, because she is his tweeter.
Whoa. She's the one pressing that button.
I'm going to quote Wall Street Journal. Through twilight hour shifts, Harp has created the impression that the president never sleeps and is instead spending his should-be bedtime obsessively retweeting baseless conspiracies about the 2020 presidential election and Fox News headlines about his purported popularity among the American public. Now, let's not let Trump off the hook here. I wouldn't have done all that shit which I just did if she's at fault. He tweets as well. We don't know what are his tweets and what are her tweets. Also, she doesn't tweet a single thing he hasn't approved. Mm-hmm. He approved of every one of those graphics, including the one that came a second time.
Two, really?
So he approves every single one of them. She comes to him with a bunch of options and a bunch of accounts, shows him a whole bunch of tweets. He picks the ones he wants tweeted out, and then she tweets them out for him.
Analog. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's real cute.
So they are playing printouts, yeah.
That's awesome.
So when there are 10 different greatest of all time posts in a row, he picked every one of them, okay? So he still cops it for that, okay? He's not off the hook. But this is the big to be fair.
To be fair.
When he tweets 160 times from 8:17 p.m. until midnight on Monday, which he did, and you're asking, how can one person be so batty? That's probably not him. He's probably picked those 160 tweets at different occasions, and she scheduled them all at that time. That's Natalie dumping a bunch of tweets in short succession, right? He can't humanly tweet that much. She's helping him. So that also explains why so many of his tweets, if you look at the accounts they come from, are from the same accounts.
Sure.
Because she shows him the whole account, and he goes through them and picks the ones he wants.
Weird.
So we do need to bear all that in mind. But at the same time, sheesh, did you see those 17 tweets? My God. Oh, my God. We are just out of time. Look, there are I got heaps of This Is Not Normals. Every week I got heaps of This Is Not Normals. They'll sound old next week, but we'll get to them next week. I just do want to do one more, which I don't know if it's This Is Not Normal or if it's just general, the Department of Justice is shit. But I do want to talk about Kash Patel because I've been seeing in my notes now for 3 weeks. It just keeps on going, and it's relevant to the theme of this week, which is they really don't like criticism in this administration. There have been a few stories over the last few weeks by The Atlantic that I've been trying to work in about Kash Patel. He's the director of the FBI. You've probably heard about them already. One, The Atlantic basically did an expose on him being drunk a lot. Involved Sarah Fitzpatrick, the author, talking to more than 24 people, including current and former FBI officials, staff at law enforcement, intelligence agencies, hospital industry workers, members of Congress, political operatives, lobbyists, and former advisors. They started by telling a story about how he once thought he'd been logged out of the system and had a freak out. But the article said it had just been a technical error, and it was quickly resolved. But look, the main part of the article was about drunkenness. This is the key section. Several officials told me that Patel's drinking has been a recurring source of concern across the government. They said he is known to drink to the point of obvious intoxication, in many cases at the private club Ned's in Washington, D.C., while in the presence of White House and other administration staff. He's also known to drink to excess at the Poodle Room in Las Vegas, where he frequently spends parts of his weekends. Early in his tenure, meetings and briefings had to be rescheduled for later in the day as a result of his alcohol-fueled nights. 6 current and former officials and others familiar with Patel's schedule told me. On multiple occasions in the past year, members of security detail had difficulty waking Patel because he was seemingly intoxicated, according to information supplied to Justice Department and White House officials. A request for breaching equipment, normally used by SWAT and hostage rescuing teams, to quickly gain entry into buildings was made last year because Patel had been unreachable behind locked doors, according to multiple people familiar with the request. That's all very funny. That's one story. The other one was a follow-up about Patel giving away alcohol to FBI employees as some kind of calling card. Like we're talking personalised signed bottles of bourbon he gave them to as like presents. This is the key section here. Patel's given out bottles of his personalised whiskey to FBI staff as well as civilians he encounters in his duties, according to 8 people, including current and former FBI and Department of Justice employees and others who are familiar with Patel's distribution of the bottles. Patel has distributed his self-branded bottles while on official business, including during at least one FBI event. He and his team have transported the whiskey using a DOJ plane, including when he went to Milan during the Olympics in February. The FBI did not dispute that Patel gives out bottles of whiskey inscribed with his name, but in response to a detailed list of questions, a spokesperson portrayed the gifts as routine within the FBI and the broader government. He added the bottles in question are part of a tradition in the FBI that started well over a decade ago, long before Director Patel arrived. Senior bureau officials have long exchanged commemorative items in formal gift settings consistent with ethics rules. Director Patel has followed all applicable ethical guidelines and pays for any personal gift himself. Okay, now as far as I'm concerned, that second story is a beat up. It's nothing. I don't give a shit. He's giving presents. Who cares if he gives presents?
Sure.
Isn't that generous? Isn't that nice? Giving presents?
Isn't it a desperate ploy for people in your workplace to like you?
That's fine. We all do that.
No. Yeah. I'm just...
Yeah, that's right. As long as he pays for it. If he does pay for them, Who cares? The fact it's alcohol, I don't care. If it's a bottle, like I've done corporates and they give you as a present a bottle of alcohol. I don't drink. I don't care. Whatever. If you don't like it, pass on to someone else or just throw it out. Like, it's not a big deal. This is how The Atlantic tried to make it seem like a scandal, by the way. They said, several current and former FBI employees, including multiple senior leaders, told me the director regularly handing out his own personally branded bourbon, including to civilians outside the bureau, was unheard of. Current and former agents also told me they were concerned by Patel's gifts of personalized bourbon. The FBI traditionally has zero-tolerance approach to unauthorized use of alcohol on the job and for its misuse while off-duty. But that standard is bending under Patel's leadership, one former agent told me. It's so weird and uncomfortable, the person said. Another former agent described bowls as demoralizing because they suggest one set of stands for the director and another for the rest of the bureau. This person said he believes that many agents would worry that if the director offers you a bottle and you aren't on board on receiving it enthusiastically, you're getting polygraphed for loyalty. Look, we'll get to the polygraphs in a second, but handing out personalised bowls of bourbon is not an unauthorised use of alcohol on the job. It's not misuse while off duty. It's just giving a present. They don't have to scull it when he gives it to them. They can take it home. I don't see how being given a present is demoralizing. That doesn't make sense to me.
I'm just curious, maybe the demoralizing factor is because it's got his name on it.
So what? Throw it out if you don't like it.
Yeah, that's more just that could make it weirder. Than...
I mean, I agree it's weird, but just, so what? It's a weird present.
Yeah.
And the fact he carries it on his plane, that's his luggage. Like, what do you expect him to do? Mail it? I don't understand. To me, it seems like a massive beat-up by Patel's haters. But the first story, that's real. Especially given Trump notoriously doesn't like drunks. And Kash Patel didn't like that story one bit because he thought, fuck it, that's going to get me sacked. So he sued The Atlantic for $250 million for defamation. I'm not going to go into much detail because of time on this. The lawsuit's stupid. Like, remember, if you're a public figure, you want to sue someone for defamation, you have to prove not only it's false, but it's published in malice, which means the defamatory statement needs to be made with knowledge that it's false or with reckless disregard of whether it's false or not. They talked to 24 people, okay? They investigated properly. They published his denial. They published the White House denial. But the fact is, his denial is unconvincing, okay? Take it from me. It's not convincing. Secondly, he hasn't said what's untrue about the report. Most of the report is just opinions that people are saying he's a drunk. That's their opinion. You can't prove that their opinion is false. The lawsuit said the initial anecdote about Patel freaking out when he thought he'd been fired was untrue. They said the article's assertions that on April 10, Director Patel panicked frantically, announcing he'd been fired, engaging in a freak out, and is deeply concerned that his job is in jeopardy, are false. On April 10, Director Patel had a routine technical problem logging into a government system, which was quickly fixed. Director Patel's sole focus is on carrying out the administration's law enforcement priorities. So they're confirming the incident. They're saying it's true. They're just contradicting the characterization of the incident, which is an opinion. These people are terrible at being lawyers. Right? Anyway, even worse, Kash Patel then seemed to accuse his own lawsuit of lying in his press conference when he said that the incident never happened at all, and the people who saying it did happen are lying. He said anyone who says it happened is lying, and his lawsuit said it happened. So, what the hell? I'm gonna stop talking the lawsuits because it's not important. But take it from me, terrible lawsuit. All right. What I do want to focus on though is my main concern, which was from the first article. It said this: many of the people who spoke with me said they had been afraid to reveal their concerns about Patel publicly or through traditional whistleblower channels because he has been aggressive in cracking down on anyone he deems insufficiently loyal. At Patel's direction, FBI employees are polygraphed in an effort to identify leakers. One formal official told me that Bureau employees have been asked in these sessions for opinions about Patel's perceived enemies, as well as whether they've ever said anything disparaging about the director or the president. They're polygraphing him about having ever criticized him in any capacity whatsoever. That's psycho shit. And not to mention a severe crackdown on their freedom of speech.
I would have just said so insecure.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well, on top of all of that.
Totally insecure, but also,
sorry.
more importantly, an abuse of power as the FBI director. A huge abuse of power. An impeachable abuse of power. From the second article, they also wrote, the fear of retribution has deterred some staff from reporting their concerns to supervisors or through channels reserved for whistleblowers. So they're scared of retribution even as a whistleblower. In March, Patel and his team brought at least one case of bourbon to the FBI's training facility in Quantico for a training seminar where UFC athletes provide mixed martial arts instruction to aspiring FBI agents.
UFC?
That's a whole different thing. We have mentioned that before. At one point, at least one bottle went missing, which caused the director to lose his mind, according to clients of Kurt Zizdak, a retired agent who has assisted FBI agents, including whistleblowers, with legal issues. Zizdak told me that multiple agents contacted him for legal advice after Patel began threatening to polygraph and prosecute his staff over the missing bottle. One bottle of bourbon. It turned into a shit show, Zizdak said. Other attorneys told me they received similar calls from FBI employees regarding concerns about Patel's bottles. Zizdak and the other attorneys said their clients find themselves in a difficult situation. FBI agents have a duty to disclose wrongdoing, Zizdak said. But if you make allegations against Patel, you're screwed. So there is a theme developing there of Kash Patel abusing his power and people being scared of him retaliating against any form of criticism whatsoever, even justified criticism, through official whistleblowing channels. Since those stories came out, we've heard that according to MS Now, the FBI has launched a criminal leak investigation into the first story. The FBI deny this. A spokesperson says, completely false. No such investigation like this exists, and the reporter you mentioned is not being investigated at all. But the leaks about leak investigations keep on coming. MS Now also reported that the FBI also launched an internal inquiry after a story last year came out that Kash Patel sued over that was eventually dismissed. There was another, when I was talking about the lawsuit, there was another lawsuit last year which got dismissed already because these are lame lawsuits. And there was an investigation in the FBI to find the leakers in that story as well. It's strange trying to find the leakers in a story when you say the story was made up. That's strange, isn't it? Strange behavior, don't you think? Especially with an official FBI investigation. Yeah. Anyway, on MS Now, they're also reporting FBI Director Kash Patel ordered the polygraphing of more than 24 former and current members of a security detail, as well as other staff, and has been described as being in panic mode to save his job and find leakers amongst his team, according to two people briefed on the development. Patel walled himself off from some senior bureau leaders this week after multiple media reports raised red flags about his leadership, according to three people familiar with his recent actions. Two of the people told MS Now the director ordered the polygraphing this week of former and current security detail members, as well as several information technology staff. So to be clear, Patel has a $250 million personal lawsuit now against the Atlantic. To provide material for that lawsuit, he is undertaking a huge official FBI investigation involving polygraphing dozens of people. That seems like a massive abuse of power.
Yeah.
And this is all just about people slagging him off. There's a pattern. Earlier this year, the New York Times reporter Elizabeth Williamson ran a story about Kash Patel using FBI resources to provide his girlfriend with government security and transportation. The New York Times reported later that the FBI started investigating the reporter as a result of that report. The FBI agents interviewed Patel's girlfriend about the reporter, queried databases for info on the reporter, and recommended moving forward to determine whether the reporter broke federal stalking laws. And just so you know, the law defines stalking as placing someone under surveillance with intent to kill, injure, harass, or intimidate that person. Pretty sure the reporter wasn't doing that. Needless to say, this was a huge red flag for FBI officials who aren't corrupt, and they apparently determined there was no legal basis to proceed with the investigation. And then they obviously leaked it to the New York Times, because the New York Times is the ones who wrote that article. For what it's worth, the FBI denied this investigation as well. They said there was no such investigation of the reporter. But the spokesperson also said the reporter's, quote, aggressive reporting techniques crossed the lines of stalking, which sounds like a confirmation more than a denial to me. Anyway, not consistent with their First Amendment, not consistent with his duty as FBI director, but it is consistent with Kash Patel's stated view that the MSM, the mainstream media, is the most powerful enemy that the United States has ever seen.
Oh, my Lord.
That's a quote from him. The most powerful enemy that the United States has ever seen. I'm so glad he's director of the FBI. What could go wrong? Now, I don't know if that's not normal. It certainly is not normal. I don't know if it's a DOJ is shithouse, but their obsession with leaks and criticism is just beyond the pale, Lockie. Can I make one modest proposal to sum up this whole PEP? Rather than focusing endlessly on your critics and the people dobbing you in, maybe try to be less shit. Just for once, try to not be incompetent, and maybe there would be less criticism and leaking. That's my Jerry Springer thought for the day.
Sure.
Just maybe. Just try it. Just try it. Just try it. Just once. Just try being competent. See what happens. You never know your luck in the big city. Lockie, got any thoughts before we go?
Just to echo what Chaz just said, don't listen to your haters. Let your haters be your waiters when you sit at the table of success.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm going to need a week to think. No, I'm going to need 4 to 5 days to think about that before I come back with a Correspondence Extra.
Great.
Until then, thank you, Lockie.
Cheers, Chaz.
Stay peppy.